I'm in search of conversation guests. If you are interested or know someone that might be interested, please contact me directly. Thank you. Let's do like a Quentin Tarantino type of jump in. So let's jump into like the heavy part of the deepest part of your life, being like jumping in jail. So you spent how much time in jail?
Oh, geez. Yeah, so in between the time of 19 and 29 years old, I spent 5 years of my life in jail and prison and 5 years of my life out on the street
Man.
doing crime and in pretty heavy drug addiction. And yeah, it's pretty.
All right. We could do the Quentin Tarantino intro is done, and then we'll talk about whatever you want to talk about. Do you want to talk about what you've been doing, like current day? You're going to college right now, and you're working towards your master's or your bachelor's.
Yeah, I'm working towards my bachelor's with the intent to go ahead and do my master's after that.
And then eventually open up your own clinic too.
Yeah, for sure. I've been working in the field for about, I don't know, like 6-7 years now. And it's been cool. And it's been good working with other people, working for other people.
Yeah.
And then working a little bit for myself too on my own, because whenever I do individual sessions and just meet somebody and they're like, hey, I want to work with you, then that's just my own stuff. So that's been cool.
What got you started in that field?
Well, I've had a lot of problems with drug abuse and drug addiction in my life. So, I mean, I started drinking. I'll give a little synopsis of my using experiences. So I started really smoking weed first. I started smoking weed when I was 11. I was at a football game in high school, and I had some older brothers, and they were in high school, and one of our friends, which is still my good friend now, was running from like the school cops. He's like running from him, and he dropped a bag of weed, and he's like, "Oh, dude, I dropped a bag of weed," and I was like, I heard it, and I went back and I got this dime bag of weed, dude, of what they would call Mexican brickweed. I got it. I took it home. I told like my brothers and some of my friends, and we went out and we like smoked it. And I didn't really feel much. But I was like, dude, I want to do that again. I just felt like I want to do it again for some reason. So I started buying weed from like the older kids. And it was cool for me because I had so much going on at the time that it kind of took me out. It kind of like what allowed me to not be stressed out. It alleviated my stress. I would do it and I would be in this other world. And then the world that I was in, I was a young boy. I was 11 years old. I had older brothers and I was self-conscious. I kind of didn't like some things about myself and I was just unsure. Like I'm sure every 11-year-old
everyone
attest to that, you know what I mean? But I liked it because it just made me feel good. And it put me in the moment, and I wasn't that good at being in the moment. Nowadays, I'm actually really good at being in the moment, just being there and be able to experience what's going on. And it's because I've had to do a lot of practice on it. And so that gave me that. It gave me that escape from reality. And come to find out I was 11, for the next 19 years, I'd be trying to escape reality just the same until eventually reality caught up to me. So, yeah, I started smoking weed, started drinking.
Do you feel that the smoking was, how do I explain it? Because I think people get affected by every drug, from marijuana to probably nicotine to Oxycontin. I could speak directly to Oxycontin and marijuana. I think when I hear other people's addiction, what's the word I'm looking for? Like they're certain people seem to get more addicted to certain things than others, I think.
For sure.
Do you feel you're attracted to marijuana more as a emotional thing when you said being in the moment and whatnot? Was that more, or was there an addiction feeling behind the marijuana to you?
I mean, when I did it, I was so young that like I wasn't really doing it to be. I mean, yeah, I guess I was kind of doing it to be cool, but more so I was just doing it to do it. And the actual effect of what it did to me, I liked so much because it got me out of the escape. And to answer your question directly, I think that is part of addiction. I think people who have a propensity and a likeliness to be addicts or alcoholics, part of what sets them up to be like that is that they do need an escape. They do need a relief that they can't get in other ways. They do need to figure out how to cope with life in a way that without that substance, they can't do it. So yeah, I felt that it was that, and then also it was part of the addiction too. And addiction is much more than that as well. Like, as I've come to find out, like through the years, I've gone off to before I started going to jail and prison, I'd go to treatment. And there's a time I remember clearly I went to treatment and I came back and I was hanging out with some relatives, and they loved me very much and they wanted all the best for me. And I did rehab for a long time. It was like 6 months or something like that. And they were like, yeah, dude, you don't need to not drink. Like, you can just drink and just control it. That's what I do. Just control it. And I was like, oh, you know what? Like, that's what I'll do. I'll just control it. I'll just be able to manage it. But my reality is, and I think what makes me different from some people, like if somebody's watching this and they go, yeah, dude, just control it. I can't do that. I'm unable to do that. I've tried to do that literally 100 times. Told myself, like, okay, I'm just going to do this in a way where it's like, and still handle my shit. I'm unable to do it. And like at the time, I didn't know why, but now that I'm going to school and I'm a drug counselor, so I've had a lot of education about what addiction is. There's actually some neuroscience behind people who are addicts too. There's the VTA, which is the ventral tegmental area, is a dopamine pathway. And it's a pathway to the prefrontal cortex. And sometimes whenever some people use drugs, it affects that. It hampers that. And that's specifically the dopamine pathway that we would use that tells us to eat or to have sex or to sleep. Like very innate, basic, like evolutionary things that we have been like just pounded into us over the centuries of how to survive. So it's like, that's where that part of our brain is like, you got to do this to survive. You got to eat, you got to have sex, you've got to find shelter, stuff like that. And so that's the same pathway that whenever people use drugs and they get that feeling of relief, it does that same exact thing. And so if my brain and my body's telling me that like using this drug is on par with like me staying alive, and then also the VTA goes to the prefrontal cortex, and our prefrontal cortex, we use that dopamine to make decisions. Like our prefrontal cortex is what we use to like, oh, I'm using drugs more than I'm like taking care of my responsibilities and I need to do that. Like I should stop doing that. That's a prefrontal cortex. And if that's affected by the drugs that we're doing, because it's using all of our dopamine to tell us, yeah, that's good, do that again. Whatever you got to do to make that happen right there that you just did, that's number one. That's, you got to eat, you got to sleep, you got to do that. Like, and we're good. And that's all we got to worry about. So whenever you got a person telling you like, oh, just handle your stuff, but that's the way your brain is working, is like telling you like, you need to do this. There's some different stuff. And it's funny because this has been proven through science. There's this lady, Nora Valco. She's the head of the NIH right now, but she's done through fMRI scans that people who are not addicts, this is what the brain looks like when it's on drugs, and this is how that area looks like. And people who are, it looks different.
What's NIH?
NIH is a National Institute of Healthcare.
Oh, okay.
I think, and I think that I hope I'm getting that right. and she's the head of it. And basically, what it is they do research on this kind of stuff. Like
yeah.
How does drug abuse? Because drug abuse is a huge thing, and not in our society, but all over the world. It has personal effects. It has societal effects that are huge, humongous. And so our so the United States pays a department to do research on like, hey, how can we help these people and how can we lower the cost? Because, government's all about money. How can we lower the cost of what people who are drug addicts and alcoholics are costing us? So that's what she does, and that's what she is. So
Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, it, and I think there's more involved too. Like it's a multifaceted thing, like drug addiction and alcoholism. It's not just like neuroscience or like what I was talking about, like emotional. I think it's also cognitive, like how you think. And it's also spiritual. And so like, how are you going to talk scientific about spiritual? Like, I don't know, but it's a thing. People in the world are spiritual and they believe what they believe and they have their convictions and their beliefs. So yeah, it's a tricky thing, dude. It's a really tough thing to deal with. And it was tough for me. And it took me like a long time, like I started stealing cars at a young age. So before that, I started doing drugs at a young age, and I kind of like was at that point where it's like, okay, this is over everything else, what I was talking about. And so I kind of didn't do good in school. I had to have some interventions and like be put in. I think I went to military school once. Yeah, I went to military school and I went to a drug rehab for a year just so I could get through high school. And then I was trying to move on with my life, get through college and everything. And I couldn't, like I just couldn't do it because that was like the first thing. It was like, I need to like use drugs. And so what that goes along with too is like, I kind of was like lazy and just wanted to do drugs and like didn't really want to work. And that's just specific to me because I know a lot of people that are drug addicts and they just work. They go to work 9 to 5 days a week, and they've been doing it for years, decades. But I was always kind of romanticized like the criminal lifestyle, Like I wanted to do that. And at one time I wanted to be a drug dealer and I tried that, but then I figured out that I would do too much of the drugs. I can make a little bit of money out of it, but do too much of the drugs. But so my thing was just like brazen criminal acts to get money. I stole cars.
Do you think looking back, it was just a rebellious feeling, rebellious stage of life? Or looking back on it, how do you feel about it?
I mean, that's a loaded question for sure. For me, because yes, it was a rebellious stage of life, and a big part of that for me.
And FYI, everything I ask is it's really I don't have an agenda. I guess like when I'm thinking about when I'm asking it, was it rebellious? Like when every kid when they're 14, well, is this? I think I was rebelling. I started rebelling around the age of 12, 13, 14, somewhere around there. My mom was always yelling at me and
just kind of pushing back on the authority.
Yeah. So looking back, to me that was a rebellious age. But then, I mean, as we get older, I'm able to look back and think, well, certain things my parents did, or those that were, or my aunt and uncle that was taking care of me, certain things I could look back and see that maybe they were a little bit unfair, but also I have to now, as I'm older too, I could also look back, well, they're paying the bills, they're putting
food.
See
the adulting in it. It's like, oh, I was being a kid and they were being an adult. So I can see that part. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think everybody goes through that rebellious thing, but I think there was like a more deep-seated rebellion that was inside of me that was, I thought that everything was fake as far as like what I was being told to do and what I was being like molded to do. And I wanted to do some things for myself, and those weren't seen as important. And I actually, to be honest, I still have this rebellious streak in me today. And I think it's important to, like, if you want to play music, like play music. I think it's important if you think it's cool to, like, whatever your deal is, like whatever your artistic expression is, or like whatever you want to do, there's just as much validity to yes, you should pursue that in your life than there is to yes, you should go to school and get good grades and get a good job because you can be successful. Because success isn't all about money. I've met so many people who have so much money who are miserable. And I've met so many people who have so little money who are so intrinsically happy with what they do and how they live their lives. And I wanted to do some things and be a person whenever I was a kid, and I was told I shouldn't do it because it's not the smart thing to do. And I said, that's not right. I don't agree with that. I don't believe in that. And I don't think that that's I don't think that that's the path I want to go on, dude. So yeah, I was very rebellious about fitting into a box that other people were trying to put me in that I didn't feel like I belonged in. And I've had this conversation with a lot of people, and I know a lot of people can relate.
Oh yeah,
Can you relate to that?
Oh yeah. I mean, in high school, man, I was getting in trouble all the time. All the teachers, like, it got so bad in high school where, junior high, I had my English teacher would call home every week, and then I literally every week, like, she would call my mom and be like, hey, your kid was really loud this week, hey, your kid kept on yelling out during class, hey, your kid was doing this. And one week was so hilarious where the teacher actually called my mom and said, hey, Liem was actually all right this week. But my mom was so used to every week getting a phone call. My mom yelled at me. I'm like, Mom,
because it was the pattern, dude. She gets a call from the teacher and then she yells at you.
Yeah.
It's like the pattern. Yeah. Yep. So hard to break patterns and dynamics, dude.
Yep. Yeah. So I think the rebellion thing is in all of us. Maybe I don't. Some people say the youngest kid, where me and you are the youngest. Maybe we have. I hear the statement where the youngest kid has the most rebellious bone in them, or that they have the biggest rebellious bone in the family. The youngest.
I've heard that. It's different. Like with the whole family of origin and like orders of birth, it's different though, because like some kids who are the youngest like get treated like gold, and some kids who are the oldest get treated like gold, and so it's just kind of like different for each family. But yeah, probably for me that was a part of it too, because I was like, in my family, the way that it went is there's like a pecking order, like mom and dad and like oldest brother and like middle brother, and then I was down there at the end. So I was like, you guys are whack. I don't want to, I have to listen to everybody that I live with. Like, I can't tell anybody what to do. Like, no, dude. Like, I'm not going to do anything anybody says, for sure.
Yeah.
That was definitely part of it.
Yeah. So you spent from 19 to 29 in and out of jail. Let's kind of go through it. Let's go from childhood. I remember. So you live down the street from me, and because we live, me and like there's Graham, Stacy, Kevin, Jeremy, Brandon, Travis. We all lived in the condos, and I remember going to play at your guys' house. I was like, oh, they got the big house down there. Like, that was a lot of fun. I want to say it was like either 2 or 3 summers, me and I forget who. We kept on coming down to your guys' place and play pool, watch movies. And then as for junior high, went to Prospect. I don't remember you at Prospect. Did you go to a different junior high?
No, I didn't go to Prospect. I did. So I was in troublemaker from the beginning. We went to Green School, which is in San Carlos, and then I went to a Christian school, so I wouldn't get in trouble.
Okay.
So, and because I started going to Carl Noakes and I got in some fights and stuff and whatever, and just hanging out with the troublemakers.
Yeah.
My friend Jesse, and then I went to a Christian school, and then we both were in West Hills after that. When we went to high school, we both ended up in West Hills.
Yeah.
And even my tenure in West Hills was broken up because I went to West Hills like my freshman year, and at that time I was already like smoking weed and drinking quite a bit. And then so my sophomore year, my parents were like, dude, we can't really like control you, so we're going to put you in this military school. And that lasted for half a semester. And there was good and bad things about that. It was a lot more freedom for me, so that was cool. But I got in just as much trouble, if not more. So, and then I came back from that, and then went back to West Hills, and then it got bad again, just as bad, if not worse than it was before. Just partying all the time, dude. Just hanging out and roaming. Like, I was like I was an athletic kid, so I hung out with like the athletes, and then I also hung out with like all the stoners and stuff too. So,
dude, and senior year, I remember in West Hills, it seemed like the entire football team was on some type of drugs, like whether it
yeah,
had been heroin, crack. Um, I remember them mentioning like horse tranquilizers.
yeah,
Um,
we were doing. I remember my. So, I mean, I don't really want to say his name just in case somebody hears this, but yeah, my buddy died OD'd on an opiate not too long ago. My really good friend of mine, and yeah, him and another friend, a friend who's alive now.
by any chance, did his name start with an R? Because I had
Yeah,
a good. Maybe here. Well, I'll cut this off online.
yeah, put it
I'll
in
do.
the chat. Put it in.
Um,
Put it in.
oh, okay, okay.
Yeah, yeah. And my other friend, and they were doing. Yeah, they was going down to Mexico and getting. Yeah, that's him.
Oh, that's him, dude.
Yeah,
Me, what? Me and him were hanging out a whole shitload. Like right before. Holy shit. It was me and him hung out so much that years later I emailed his mom because I was at his house all the time. So
yeah,
I emailed his mom, which I'll cut that out of the video, just
yeah.
preserve names.
I talk
Uh,
to you still sometimes, dude. Just to
really?
say how you
So
doing, shoot her.
I emailed her probably I want to say 5 years after his death because it hit me too, and I was like, it was kind of a weird time. I guess in all of our lives we go through weird times or whatever. But I just got done. I was kind of doing my associate's degree in college. I was stepping away from hanging out with him
Yeah,
because of all the drugs and stuff. But I think it seemed like a little bit of a mutual pushing away. Like I still tried to see him sometimes, and then it felt like he didn't want to see me. It was just maybe
well,
whatever it
that's the
was.
game, dude. And this is a trip, and this little situation might help people understand about addiction a little bit. This guy that we're talking about is a good person, dude. He's a good dude, but he
Yeah,
also realized that he was destroying his life, and he was
yeah,
destroying people's lives around him by doing these drugs. And so he would. He knew he wasn't doing the best that he could do for his life, and he knew that he was in thralls of addiction and wasn't able to shake it. But he still loved people, and he still cared about
yeah,
people,
yeah,
and so he didn't want to hang out with you while he's getting high in the other room. You know what I mean?
yeah.
And so that's kind of like what, like even though you're like doing this addiction and this thing that's so bad for you, it's like you can't stop it, but you care about people enough to go ahead and be like, dude, I don't want to like have to put you through this.
Were you hanging when he passed away? Were you hanging out with him like within that 6 months to a year time frame before and after, or before that? Because
No, the real trip was something happened. I think I got out of jail. I just got out of jail and I hit him up. And I was like, "What's up, bro?" Like, because we'd be in touch. And I hit him up, and I was like, "Let's hang out." And he's like, "Okay." And so I went over to his house, and he got high in front of me. And I think he was staying at his mom's house at the time. He got high in front of me, and I just chilled with him, and I like talked to him, and I was like, "Dude, I'm trying not to get in trouble, you know. Like I've been, I didn't use this time in jail, and like I'm trying. It's been a few months, and so like I'm not like addicted right now, so I'm trying not to get in trouble." And he's like, "Yeah, it's cool." And I was like, dude, I love you." And I hung out with him the whole day. And then 2 weeks later is when he passed away.
oh
And
man,
we were texting in between him passing away and like when I hung out with him, because he told me in that time hanging out, like, "Yeah, dude, I want to stop this. I can't do it. It's tough. I
Mhm.
get sick. I get sick, and it hurts, and I can't do it. And then whenever I do get sober, it's like so much stuff's going on in my head and so many emotions that are going on, and I don't know how to deal with them, dude. I don't know how to make it stop. I don't know how to make them okay. And whenever I do this, Billy, because everybody calls me Billy, I feel okay. I can live. Like I can do what I can do. Come to find out he couldn't live by doing it, but
fuck man. I remember he was such a fun person and caring, like you said.
so
He
cool.
he was by your side. If you had some strange trouble, someone picked a fight with you, he'd fucking jump in, man. He was there. If if you needed anything, he would be there.
Yeah, he's a good dude.
God damn, that's
So I
crazy.
mean, I had a lot of. We were young because I mean, it was like early 20s when we were young, but we had a lot of like deep conversations. I
Oh
mean,
yeah.
like, what do we want to do? What do you want to do? What is life about? Because I mean, a lot of times whenever you get caught in this cycle, you start questioning like, what is this even? What are we doing here? Like, I'm doing something. It's making me feel good, and everybody's telling me I'm wrong. Everybody's telling me I'm a bad person. I'm doing stuff that I don't even feel is right, but I need to do it to keep doing what I'm doing. Talking about crime and stuff. And yeah, it's tough, dude. It's a
That's
tough thing.
crazy. I spent probably I want to say the majority of my sophomore my junior year of high school. That entire year, probably me and him, we were hanging out so much. Senior year, I think there was still a decent amount in senior year, and then right after high school is where I spent like 6 months goofing around, and then I went into a computer college that was like freaking over 40 hours a week. So I was like entrenched in college,
And you're
and I
still programming, right?
yeah
So,
yeah. It's been a
dude, I
good
want to
career.
be a programmer, bro. Because right now I'm down in Mexico.
Uh
I'm in
huh.
the state of Colima because it's COVID and everything's online. And so like I work, I have a couple clients and I do it through Zoom and all school's on Zoom. And I wake up in the morning and I go surf this like epic world class wave. And then I come back here and I work. And it's like, dude, when COVID's over, bro, I have to like go back to San Diego because like I work with people face to face. I can't just do this online thing all life. So, but computer programmers,
Yeah, yeah.
I mean, sometimes you have to go in, but I mean, if you wanted to, you
Hmm.
could program from anywhere as long as you
Yeah.
got that connect. So I'm kind of jealous. I mean, my mind's not set up like that. Like I'm not good at that, but is for that reason because I want to be able to surf wherever I want. I'm a
Yeah.
little bit jealous. Do
Yeah,
you work
definitely.
from home?
What was that?
Do you work from home mainly, or do you go into the
Yeah, I work
office?
from home. Yeah.
Oh, sick, dude.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good profession to get in. The like you said though, the mind. Some people have the mind for it and others don't. It's just that it's a very the mind. You gotta. I don't know. It's like a crazy puzzle game that your mind has to be able to grasp. And some people got it, and some people don't. And the people that don't, it's not even. I'm not even saying that as a shot at them, like a negative thing. It's just they might be really good at sports, or they might be really good at something else, like art,
People's
or
mind
music.
they work in day. Like I
Yeah.
don't have a good mind for that, but like I didn't know it before, but whenever I got in this field, I'm super good at like talking to people and
Hmm.
hearing what they're saying and
Hmm.
like learning how to speak their language and just like connecting with people. I didn't know that before, but like yeah, so that's what I'm good at. But yeah, different people are naturally good at different things,
Yeah. That.
which is cool, right? Because we
Yeah.
can't all be computer programmers, but I'm
Hmm.
still jealous and wish I was one so I could surf all day.
uh, um, yeah. Back to yeah,
Yeah, dude,
hanging.
that team, the football team, we were like yeah, my class was pretty crazy. There was a lot of people. I mean, just every class has the party class, but yeah, specifically in my class, I knew a lot of people that I grew up with, and a lot of them kind of grew up and they're not doing so good right now, and then a lot of them grew up and we're like, dude, this is lame. Like, I want to be like a better person and like
Yeah. Yeah.
ditch the old ways. But yeah, it was crazy during that time, and I couldn't handle it, because I was just too. I mean, I'm an intense person, like I'm pretty like already just my stock. People have their different characteristics of who they are, and my stock characteristics is like I'm gnarly, like I like to do things that are like scary. Like I'm down here surfing waves, and like a couple days ago it was like 16, 17, 18 foot faces, dude. And like it's not, and I'm scared out there and I love it, dude. I love going out there and being scared for my life and making it in and being like, that was rad, dude. And like, and not everybody's like that. And so I have that. And so whenever was kind of just in society, I was just prone to take it too far, where a lot of people are like, oh, dude, this guy's crazy, dude. Like, I like to fight. I like to do too much drugs. I like get with everybody's girl, just everything, say it, you name it, and I like to do it. So it became a problem for me because like my parents couldn't handle me, and I started getting in trouble at school and started getting in trouble with the law and stuff. And so I finally graduated high school in a rehab. I did rehab for a whole year. I went away my junior year. I think it was March 6th to March 6th. March 6th, 2000 to March 6th, 2001. I live in rehab with other teenagers for a year, which was cool. I was sober, but I was also in there sober with other people who were addicts too, girls and boys, and like imagine what we were doing, you know? It was kind of cool. But I was in there with other 14, 15, 16, 17 year olds, and it was cool. I had a really cool girl. I met a girl that I hung out with after that for a while. That was cool and important and special to me. But I mean, it didn't last long. It was just a teenager thing. But yeah, so I got out of there. I got out of that, and 19 and an adult, and just trying to get through life, and everything I tried to do, like it all kind of got destroyed by like my alcoholism and my drug use. So the thing is that it always started with alcohol, because socially, it's acceptable socially in the United States, just about with most people that you know, to have a drink, to go to the bar, especially when like you're in your early 20s, you know. And so I would always have a drink, and then I wouldn't stop. I would have more drinks, and then that turned into like me wanting to do drugs, and then so I would do the drugs like marijuana and coke. And so it got to the point where every time I would relapse on alcohol that night, I'm doing like cocaine and looking for heroin and Xanax pills and like everything. So it's just like I couldn't take one without the other. So like I'm definitely an alcoholic, but I'm an alcoholic that likes to use drugs. So I mean, it just always started with the alcohol, but really when it comes down to it, I've done pretty much every drug you can think of, and I like to shoot heroin and cocaine. You just heard about some people dying on that stuff. Like I think Chris, I don't know about Chris Farley, but the guy who's kind of similar to him, the comedian, Speedballs, John Belushi.
Yeah.
That's what sometimes we'll call it a Belushi. We'll be like, oh, you do Belushi's?
Damn.
Because that was his deal. That's how he died. Shooting cocaine's dangerous. Super fun in the moment. It's crazy, but super dangerous too. So
yeah. Well, what led you into what was the event that led you up into jail?
So I started stealing cars, like, because I was like, oh, I want to get some money. Like, I don't want to work, and I want to get some money. And so I was just at that point where it was like, well, what's going to go on? And like, what am I going to do with my life? I'm like 19, 20 years old, and it's like, okay, well, can't stop using drugs, and I'm going to keep doing it. And it's not working out for me to go to work because my drug use gets in the way. And so, like, what am I going to be able to do? And I was like, well, I could just do crime. I need to get good at doing a crime. So then I can just, like, do drugs and, like, not have to go to work and, like, do it whenever I want it. So first time I went to jail, it was a really stupid thing. I'm really ashamed about it because I did it in, like, such a horrible way. It's like one of my friends that I played football with when I was young. We played, like, Pop Warner together. And I think he's still pissed at me. He still won't accept my friend request on Facebook. So if you know who you are, hit me up. I went to, it was my prom that I didn't get to go to because I had just because I went to rehab, and then, no, I think it was a year after, something like that. But anyways, I got wasted and I like stole a car. And because I was like, well, I need to like figure out how to get money. And I knew, and I had been talking to somebody who's like, yeah, you can do this. And I got caught for it. I kind of gave myself up because I was just in over my head and I like didn't know what I was doing, and I was like, fuck, dude, I really just stole a car, like when I snapped to or whatever. So I kind of gave myself up and like went to jail for a little bit and went to rehab after the jail, and then I got out of rehab and I got a lawyer and I did good for a while. Got a job and I got like that expunged. And so that was good because it was expunged off my record. That was good. But with that, I realized, like, dude, if you're going to do something, do it right. So my time in jail and my time in rehab, I figured out how to steal cars and how to sell them and get rid of them, and where to take them to chop them up, and where to take them down in Mexico, so where you could do it and not get caught and get paid for it. And so that was when I was like 19. That happened when I was 19. And so 20, 21, I was doing that. And then I met a girl. She's a beautiful girl. She's really close in my life today. And her husband is really close with me today. And we got pregnant. And I did something. I got a DUI. I was driving. I was working. I think I was working as a lifeguard.
Can I jump back to the friend that you stole the car from? Does he have any idea? Does he know any idea of like who you are now? That you've changed completely?
I don't think so. Yeah. I don't think he does. I think he's probably like has heard like, oh, like he's doing whatever he's doing, but like I haven't talked to him, you know.
Yeah.
But I talked to him after that. After that happened, there would be like intermittent periods of like where I would see him and be like, bro, I'm sorry, like that was a stupid thing for me. And it wasn't his car, it was his friend's car. And I was like, I was stupid. And he's like, yeah, bro, you've already apologized to me. You've apologized to me before. But then still after that, I would continue to pretty much destroy my life with drugs and alcohol and act like an idiot. And so
yeah.
It's hard, bro. It's hard having relationships with people who are addicts and just blowing it, you know, because it's just, you got to watch them burn everything. And there's comes a time where it's like, you got to step back, you know? So.
Okay, so you got the DUI?
Oh, yeah, so I got a DUI. She's pregnant. I got a DUI. She was pregnant. Went to jail. And I was like, oh, dude, like, I'm going to have a kid. I gotta clean up. I'm going to have a kid. Now it's not just about me. I can't be selfish, right? So, sober for a while. And then I relapsed again and was just out being crazy, like with a new baby. It's like a brand new baby and going out to the bar and, you know, working. I was working at that time, so I wasn't doing crime, but I was still being like, you know, going to the bar. Like I remember one time I came home, I was like 12 and I like left to go back to the bar. And like my girlfriend like followed me and she was like, what are you doing? Like we're baby's right here and like you came home and then you left. Like I was just couldn't figure out. So she left me. And that was difficult for me. I was like, my parents are still together. And so come from that genre of thought where you get together and you stay together no matter what. And that's what you do. You make it work because relationships aren't easy, they're hard. Which I see some value in, and then I also don't see some value in it because it's like you can't beat your head against a brick wall and expect to get through it without being injured. So yeah, she left me. It was really difficult for me, and so that kind of sent me back into the. You know, I tried at that point to like, you know, I'm a kid, I'm going to do school and everything. That sent me back into the whole deal where I was like drinking a lot and using a lot of drugs. I started to use cocaine at that time. And then eventually I needed to get money, so I started stealing cars again. And then I met this guy in TJ who like wanted to sell big amounts of cocaine. So I was like, oh, dude, I can make tons of money if I figure out how to smuggle drugs across the border. So that's kind of like what I was doing. You know, I was stealing cars and smuggling cocaine across the border for my 20s, you know, and I made money at it. And I didn't make a ton of money because I was a drug addict. I was like legit, like I'm doing 1.5 grams a day of heroin, which is a lot of money, especially if you're buying it in 1.5 grams a day. At certain times, and there would be times when I wouldn't do that, but
maybe walk me through.
Yes, I never got caught for any of that stuff. You know, the car. I mean, I got caught for the first one, but after that, I figured out how to do it. Never got caught for that. But I always went to prison and jail because I'm like still like a drug addict and still blowing it, and I'm like getting in fights and like getting like 4 DUIs and like driving without a license and like stealing shit. And like I think one time I was just so strung out, I just like went into a CVS and tried to rob it for all their Oxycontin and all their money, and like ran away and got away and everything. And like 3 months later, and then so I'm living in between Mexico and the US at this time, like coming here, selling whatever I brought across, and then getting a car and going back and selling that and living there. And when I came back and I went to my mom's house or something for something, and the marshals broke into the house and busted me, and I did like 9. That was my first prison term. I did like a couple months in county jail and 9 months in Donovan State Prison in San Diego for that.
Oh, Donovan. The prison guard interview, he worked at Donovan.
Yeah, that's why I watched that. He was.
But were you in like maximum? Well, at least from my understanding, my understanding of that interview where he said he worked in where a lot of the inmates were like nearly maximum security. So that's where you were?
No, so he's working in like level 4. So if you like do a robbery, and I think I pleaded out, like I pleaded out, which means like I admitted to attempted robbery so that they wouldn't have to go through the whole costly process of taking it to trial. Because the reality is too, is like I'm a white kid from San Diego, and I present really well. So if I would have went to trial, like it's kind of like shaky, like for people to be like, oh yeah, he did it. Because I came from a good family, but I was living this kind of like dirty, like
yeah.
I could just like pretend like I was this person in court, and like so they didn't really want to take it to trial. So anyways,
wow.
I pleaded out, and I only got like a year, and I had already done some time in county, and I went and did the rest of my time. And so whenever you do that little amount of time, you usually go into level 1.
Oh, okay.
And then when you do more time, like when you're doing like 2 to 5 years, you'll go to like level 2.
Okay.
When you're doing like 5 to 10, you'll go to level 3. And when you're doing like 15 to life, you're going to level 4. And so also the way that it works is if you're so say you get life sentence and you're in level 4, but your behavior is like stellar the whole time, they'll be like, oh, okay, like it's been like 5 years, like you can go to level 3. And if your behavior is good the whole time, you'll be like, oh, it's been 5 years, you can go to level 2. So you can be like in level 4, but be on like less, where you have basically more freedom. So that guy, it sounded like he was working in like level 4s.
Yeah.
And so I would go to level 4 yards whenever I would go into reception, which is when you first start. And then my first term, I went to level 1 yard. And then my second term, where I did 2 years, I went to reception. Then I went to a level 1 yard at Calipat. Then I got caught up and rolled for some stuff, went to a level 4 yard, and then I did the rest of my term in AdSeg. Or no, I went to AdSeg, and then I went back to the level 4 yard. So they kind of like were like, yeah, you're level 1. And then I like did some stuff, and they were like, whoa, we got to figure out what this guy's doing. And basically, I was smuggling drugs into the prison too. So,
for people that I think I think I would be interested if you could walk me through a story of smuggling across the border, like drugs, your experience or what you.
Yeah. So I mean, I started going down there. So we're talking about my friends who were like in high school with me, right? And like going and doing drugs, and like a big part of it was like us just going down to TJ. And go to the pharmacy and being like, hey, dude, like, give me like some Valium and some Percocet and some muscle relaxers and some cat tranquilizers and some weed and some Coke and whatever. We just get these small amounts. And so I started to go down there when I was super young. And then I would start to buy like bigger and bigger amounts because I'm trying to like do something for me. And then I'm also trying to like make some money and some, you know what I mean? Like, just like, let's just say like for some reason, like, they owed somebody money and they didn't have Coke, but I had money and I was there to buy Coke. Like, why not just like off this guy and take this money and then we're good and then we can just start over? Like, you know, like that kind of stuff happens all the time, especially with that drug, because that drug's crazy and a lot of people that sell it do it, and there's just so much more money involved that it's like propensity to like be a little bit shady about it.
Yeah.
So I think I got lucky with that, like not ever getting caught and not ever getting like in a situation that was like super heavy, gnarly. Like,
yeah. Well,
so
If you would have got caught at the border with the drugs in the bumper, what's the punishment like on the U.S. side?
So I talked to like a lot of people who got caught who were smoking all this stuff, and mainly it was like weed and stuff like that. And weed was like pretty light. It was like a year or two, but whenever you start dealing with like meth, coke, like it's like 3 to 5 years. And then if they can connect you with like it's yours and you're selling it, then it's like jumps up to like sales. Like if you're just a transporter for somebody else or whatever, then it's like, yeah. But that's all they can catch you with is just transporting.
Yeah.
Because they don't know really who it is, like you can't say it's yours, but. And I don't think if I would have got caught too, they wouldn't have been able to put it on me for like, oh, you're gonna profit from this, I could just be like, I'm just doing it for somebody. So, 3 to 5 years each time, maybe.
Yeah.
Something like that.
Yeah. What was your time in jail like? Was there race gangs? Was the prison guards good or bad? What was your time like?
Yeah, dude. So did I say the first time I went to prison was for the CVS thing, and then the second time I was going back and forth from Mexico, and I went up to Mexico, or I went up to like the UCSD area, and I sold somebody like an ounce of drugs, and like I was coming back, and forget exactly what happened, but I just stole like a bike to like ride from a college camp like UCSD like down to like Old Town. So I think I was gonna like take the trolley back to Mexico because at the time I was living in TJ with somebody, and I was just going back. I just sold an ounce and was going back. So I got caught stealing that bike. I just kind of like picked up a bike. I was just like walking, done with my deal, like, oh, here's a bike, I'm gonna take it. And I just took off, and like I guess some dude like chased me and then called the cops, and like the cops got me and they like busted me for this bike.
God damn, that's got to be a very it's so unusual for cops to react that quickly, and then the chance that somebody saw you, and then that's got to be just bad luck.
Yeah, it was a campus. There was campus cops, and they were like, so the guy they called, and the campus cops were like right down the street.
Oh wow.
Yeah, for sure, bad luck though.
Yeah.
But yeah, I wasn't doing good at the time. I was like strung out. I was super bummed out because like I had kids. So now my kids are getting older, and I'm not really like around for them. Yeah, that one was a bummer. Just where I was in my life, so I'll go back to like I think I got arrested in like November. October 31st was Halloween, and I had a car, I had some money, I had some drugs. I think I had a weapon on me at the time. And I went to my daughter's house, neighborhood. I went to my daughter's neighborhood. And so at that point in time, I had like everything that I thought I needed. I was like, oh, I got like money and like drugs and like everything. And I went there and I sat and I parked, and like I think I saw my daughter like walking in her like Halloween costume, and I just broke down like uncontrollable, like ugly cry, like snot. And I was so broken, dude. I was so miserable with what was going on with my life and what I wasn't able to do. And at that time, at that moment, I wasn't able to be a dad. I wasn't able to step up and like raise the people who I had brought into this life. And like, how despicable is that? And how bad do I feel about myself for like not being able to do that? And I was broken. And so that happened whenever I got caught, but in a way, like I wanted that to happen. Like I didn't want it to happen that day, but I did. Like deep down inside, it was like this has got to stop. Like I don't want to do this. I got to figure out how to not live my life this way, because I'm miserable. The people that I love are miserable. I'm not even able to show up for people who I want to be able to show up for, and I can't stop. And this addiction is fueling this crime and hurting people doing that too. And that doesn't make me feel good, and it makes me feel bad about myself. And so I feel guilty and ashamed about it. And then when I wake up in the morning and I'm not high, all that stuff is on me. And it's like, what am I going to do? Start dealing with that at that point? Like talking about it and getting through it? Like I couldn't, I didn't know how. I had to get high. I didn't have a choice. Like I had to get, and that's just that one aspect of what the addiction is. That's just the emotional. That's just where I was at emotionally. Okay, so there's also like neurologically, what I was talking about earlier. There's also the physical addiction. But yeah, that was just like the one like emotional part of like, okay, how am I going to deal with that? And first of all, I don't even have the tools and don't even know how to deal with it. And then I wake up like that and like, let's get that done so I can just breathe. And then of course, me getting that done fuels this whole other lifestyle. It's just harvesting sorrow, dude. So I was in the cell with this one guy, and he was like, "What do you do? Like, what's your life about?" I was like, "Dude, I've been harvesting sorrow. I feel like for a long time, and I'm over it. I want to stop it. Not only in my life, but the people that I love the most too." And so, whenever I went into prison, that last time, I told myself in reception, whenever I was in the reception yard, I was like, "I'm done. I'm not going to do this anymore. Like, I'm going to get out, get good, and I'm not going to do this." And I meant it with all my heart. And I was like, I'm not even going to do anything bad this prison term. I'm going to be good, and I'm starting now. I'm going to get through this prison term. I'm going to get out. I'm going to take care of my kids, and that's it. I'm out of this, dude. I'm going to be a good dude, and I'm going to be the man that I want to be instead of making this, and I'll do whatever it takes. Come to find out, like I started smuggling, like I got strung out that prison term and started smuggling drugs in, and I'll tell you that story in a little bit. But to answer what you were saying, yeah, it was just like prison's kind of gnarly, like in that there's a lot of violence. Everything's based on violence. So the guards tell you what to do. So you're controlled. And what little control you do have is how the inmates act. And so white people hang out with white people, Mexican people hang out with Mexican people, Asian and black people hang out with Asian and black people. And like those are the races. And they're separated and they're segregated. And they're not segregated because the authorities tell you to do that. They're segregated because the inmates are like, this is what you're going to do. And if you go and like, there's like a lot of different nuances of like what you can and can't do with different races. But I mean, as far as making money and selling drugs, I heard the prison guards saying like, you're not really supposed to do that, and you're not supposed to. But when it comes down to making money, like you can make money, you just got to be careful, because then when there's race riots, like people die, dude. Mm-hmm. He told a story about how the cops shot somebody, and that stuff happens all the time. I think he only experienced once, but there's riots all the time, race riots all the time, and people get killed by other inmates, and guards kill people. It's not really happening on level one. In level one, it's more just like there's a lot of fights, and there's a lot of like where the cameras can't see. You go, like if you got a problem with somebody, you go back and you handle it. And then every once in a while, there is like a little skirmish or whatever, and then everybody goes and gets locked up, and they kind of settle it down. But yeah, I've been in some scraps, dude, like jail and prison. It's actually easier to fight in jail than it is in prison, because you just go in a cell. So I've been in a lot of jail cell fights. So it's basically like you go into a jail modular. Like I'm going into jail modular, going there, and like somebody's like, hey, like I'm the shot caller, like I'm the guy with the keys around here. And it's like, okay, cool, like sounds good, like what's your deal? And like if I didn't like them, or I just didn't want to be doing that thing or whatever, I was like, dude, there's a new guy here, dude. It's me. And so he would either be like, okay, because I know you and like I know who you are and you've been coming to jail for a while or whatever, or he'd be like, no, dude, that's not gonna happen. And so we go in the cell and we fight, and whoever wins comes out. That's who's calling the shots, And so sometimes I would do that. Sometimes I wouldn't want to deal with it, be all in the politics and call all the shots and
what does that do? Like that's just the person. Like if you win that fight, then you just get to kind of do as you wish, kind of in that.
Yeah, like you're in charge. Like so I'm in charge. So like I'm in this like if the Mexicans want to like have so if a Mexican dude has a problem with a white dude and they want to fight or whatever, like obviously I'd be like, dude, you can't fight that dude. And then if it just gets so bad that it's gonna happen, like I would go talk to like the Mexican shot caller and be like, dude, what are we gonna do about this? Like, okay, most of the times in that situation, it's like, okay, like our dude fucked up, like your dude fucked up too. I'll discipline our dude. We'll give him like we'll put hands on him on a 2-on-1 or something, and you do the 2-on-1 for your dude too. And then if like settle it like that, cool. But if not, then like we're fighting. We're fighting the Mexicans in day room, and it's like the whites again. And the shot caller is the one who's like saying like, okay, it's going down. We're gonna scrap with them. And usually it's like the person who's like down to fight and who's a good fighter, because like if you're in that situation, like you're talking to their guy and you're pretty much going to be on the front line too. So you want them to talk to somebody who's like down to scrap, can do some damage. So they're like, okay, we don't want to fight you, dude. So so yeah, and then there's other stuff too. Like there's also like money. If there's any money being made, you got to break off the guy with the keys like a third of it. So like if somebody has like a visit and they're getting some like weed in or whatever they're getting in, and I get a third of it if I'm in the shot caller. So like,
Gotcha.
Let me see everything you got, and like here's a third, and like okay, cool, and then like be careful, and then he has to answer to the shot caller for what he does with that. Like if he sells it, and another race owes him money, and he didn't tell the shot caller that he was going to sell it to him in the first place, it's like, dude, you're on your own. You're never on your own, but it's like you're supposed to tell me that. Like you're supposed to tell the shot caller what's going on.
For the fights, do they usually end with just someone basically kind of giving up, or is it worse? Like, are they unconscious, or is it even worse than that?
It depends. It depends on what's going on. I remember one time there was a dude. I wasn't the shot caller, and there was a dude, and there was this young kid who was like 18. And I forget what he got in trouble, but he wasn't like a real criminal, and he was just in there for like whatever. And there was an older dude, like in his 40s, who was like being all weird with him, like touching him and stuff. So basically, we're like, dude, this guy's a fucking creep. And like we talked to him about it, and he did it again. And so talked to the shot callers, like, dude, we're gonna roll this guy out. So I went and talked to him. I was like, you gotta go, bro. Like, we don't want you in here. Like, whatever. He's like, no, I'm not leaving. And then so me and another dude went back in the cell, and we beat the brakes off of him, dude. He wasn't really moving whenever we were done with that one. Yeah, and that's like it's hard to live with,
But I mean,
the guy's a fucking creep, dude. So, like his what else we got to take care of, like people in there too, It's like the guards don't see everything that's going on, and they don't take care of you. So another role of that is like you take care of your people. Like you pay attention to what's going on, and like you're responsible for like everyone of your race in there, and you got to make sure everybody's taken care of. It's your responsibility. And so in hindsight, my reality is most of the time I would go in. Sometimes I'd just be like, no, I want to be the shot caller. Or sometimes people would give it to me. But most of the times I ever made a move for it was like, dude, you're not taking care of us, dude. Like, I'm going to do this. So get out of the way, or I'll put you out of the way. And that was how it was for me whenever I was in that situation most of the times. And then because I was in that situation to begin with, I would go into a mod or a cell or somewhere, and like people would know me, and they'd be like, oh, like, it's fucking Will, dude. Like, he's bad. Like, this happened, and he did this. And then they'd be like, oh, you're fucking badass. Like, you get, but I wasn't always like that. But that's how it happens sometimes.
Yeah.
But yeah, the race stuff kind of was tough on me too, though, bro. Because I'm not ready. Like, I'm from Santee. We grew up with some of that stuff going on in our city, in our town, but I've never really been like that. Like our mom like taught us different than what some people that went to our high school thought, and like I wasn't really cool with that. So that was hard for me. It was hard for me to like be racially segregated. But I mean, you couldn't do anything. You can't really do anything about it. But it's just difficult, you know. Is something that I didn't truly believe in, and the reason I think why that it's like that in there is a lot of people that are career criminals and are doing a lot of time and stuff. They come from uneducated backgrounds where they do come from a place where there is real racism, and a lot of people are racist, and so you're around that type of people, and so that was tough for me.
Yeah, that's a super interesting point to hear from someone that's like, where racism wasn't, it's like, say that the age of 10, 12, 14, I mean, actually up to 18 or 19, you didn't really, I mean, racism wasn't ever a part of your life per se. So to get into jail and have to play the race game, I guess, huh?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's interesting to really hear that.
It's a shock.
Yeah.
And so, like I said, but to most people who are doing that, it's not a shock because they come from gangs and they come from just places where like that's what it is already. You already run with your race and your gang, and you do that. And so it's just we'll just carry that from the outside into here.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So you were smuggling drugs into the jails?
Yeah. So I'll get back to like that. I was in a reception, and said I'm never going to do this again, and totally believed it, totally heartfelt, like I'm going to take care of my kids and be a good man. Then I met this dude. He's like, dude, let's make some money while you're in prison. And I was like, yeah, I already knew what time it was. I already knew what he was talking about because I had been on the Donovan yard, and I had some people drop some stuff off for me, and some people smuggle some stuff in for me, and make some money and party and have a little fun in that yard too. So I already knew what he was talking about, and I was like, oh, sick, dude, like, let's do it. And so Calapat is like a level 4 prison. So that means there's 4 yards, and all 4 of the yards are level 4. That means people are there for like a long time. and then there's a level 1 yard like on the outside. So there's like this is all fenced in, and there's like 4 different yards on it, and they're all separately fenced. And then there's another little fencing area out here. And this is like the support people, level 1 support people. So these people, just like the guard said, people were working outside of the prison, cleaning up the grounds.
Okay, yeah.
They're like making food. They're doing the dishes. They're doing laundry.
But then also he said like 8 cents an hour. Was that right?
Yeah.
Oh, fuck.
But I mean, you get a soup for like 10 cents though. So like if you were working like, and you only get to go to the store like once a month. So if you're working for like 8 cents an hour for like 5 days a week, that's like 40 cents. 40 cents times 4 is like, what is
$1.60?
It just adds up to where you can like buy stuff that you need because it's not expensive. They sell it for like cheap. So you can buy like soups and extra food or like.
Oh, okay. How much was like a decent toothbrush or toothpaste also?
25 cents.
Oh, okay. All right. I was just having a discussion. I was talking to somebody today about that conversation with the prison guard, and they were saying 8 cents an hour. How could you even buy a toothbrush? Like, if the toothbrush is freaking a good toothbrush is, out at Walmart, it's like freaking $4, $5, $6 for a decent toothbrush.
Yeah, and then another thing is you ain't getting good toothbrushes in there no matter how much money you spend. So the toothbrush is like a normal toothbrush is like this big. The toothbrush you're getting is like this big.
Oh, geez.
Because if they give you a lot, like even if it's this big, like people are still going to make shanks out of that.
Oh, yeah.
And if it's this big, then they got a shank that can do even more damage. So
yeah,
you're getting pencils too. You can get a pencil and it's like 2-3 inches.
Yeah.
So, and then you buy a separate eraser and you got a pencil and an eraser. Because people make weapons out of it,
Yeah, totally.
Use that to stab each other because they're fucking crazy. So yeah, that's what kind of prison it was. It was a support yard. And so I went there, and so I was like, cool, yeah, I'll hit you up when I get there. So I go there, I go to reception, Calapat, I get to the yard. I fucking call my boy up. I'm like, dude, I'm here. Like, let's make this happen, dude. It's fucking. I was like, dude, I'm gonna fly under the radar. I'm gonna go there. I'm not even gonna say anything about nothing. I'm just gonna like let whoever's doing whatever politics they're doing, do whatever politics, and like, I'm I'm gonna make some money and fucking get out of here, and then I'll be able to like get out and like do good, and then I'll have some money too, like which will be way easier. So yeah, it didn't work out like that, dude. Sorry. So I was working doing something, and I smuggled in some cell phones. Just a brazen move, dude. Just a pack of cell phones and like threw it over the fence and got it there, and I sold them. I sold one for like $700. Sold a smartphone for like $700, and sold some flip phones for like $200 each. Got some money going, and then did it again, and then got some tobacco and some weed, and selling those. And then I figured out how to get over to the level 4 yard. Figured out how to smuggle phones. So that was just on my yard that I sold that stuff, and then I figured out how to infiltrate and get into the level 4 yard by like putting, like you just, like washing pans that are going to go to level 4 yard. Put a little note in there and see if somebody answers it back. Just like, these are the clean dishes. They go to the level 4 yard and they come back dirty, and there's a fucking note. And like, cool, we got communication. And it's like, does anybody want to buy a phone? Like, yes, what kind of phone do you want? Like, smartphone, whatever, blah, blah. And like, this guy's like, yeah, I'll buy a smartphone. It's like, all right, over $1,400 for a smartphone. And get it going, and they pay the money on like prepaid. Like, so you go to like Target or Walmart or 7-Eleven and you get Green Dot. And it's just kind of like a prepaid card. So it's like what you do is you go in there and you put like $700 on a Green Dot, and they give you a number. That number is that $700. And then I have a Green Dot account, and I call my Green Dot account and I type that number in there, and it says $700 has been loaded in your Green Dot account. And then I have a credit card that's attached to that Green Dot, and I can use that like as a credit card or a debit card or whatever. So that's how you like transfer money like back and forth. There's other ways too, but that's like the main way. So yeah, so doing that, and then started figuring out how to like get heroin. Had my dude dropping off heroin and crystal methamphetamine and weed, and other people were doing drops too. And my dude was like dropping it off, so they didn't really have a lot of other people dropping it off at the time, so it worked out good. Or I don't know if you call it good, but but yeah, so he's dropping this stuff off, and he's making some money, and then I did some grimy dudes, some street hood dude, like just grew up like just rough, dude. And I liked him. He was a Mexican dude, and we talk all the time. And I did a little bump of meth with him one day in prison. I stayed up for 2 days, and it was just easier. Just did more, and then I did a little heroin, and then I did some heroin and meth, and then I'm strung out, dude. And I'm strung out in prison, and I'm spending all my money like on all this, like on more drugs, and so I'm just like shooting drugs every day in prison. But yeah, it was one of the most miserable times of my life, dude. I remember it. That I was there, and I was in that yard. And Calipatria is in El Centro, and it gets hot there in the summer, dude. I'm talking about like 120, like 117, like daily for like stretches of time.
Jeez.
And so I'm out there, and in the day it's like 117. It's like where you walk outside and you're just covered in sweat. And I haven't slept in like 5 days. I'm strung out. I'm not taking care of my kids, and I feel like a piece of shit. And I'm delusional. I'm hearing stuff. I'm seeing stuff because I haven't slept in so long. And that was one of the lowest points in my life. That time in my car, I had a realization, and then that time right there when I was strung out, it was one of the lowest times in my life. Where I was just like, what am I doing? Like, what is this? Like, where am I right now? What have I done with my life? Like, this is heavy,
Were those thoughts?
Go ahead.
Were those thoughts like when you were on meth and or heroin? Were those thoughts there, or was it after you've come down? those regrets of thought, or those thoughts of regrets?
Yeah, like the thing for me is like it turned into, yeah, that's a good question. I really like that question because at first, whenever I first started using drugs and alcohol, they weren't there. It made it go away. And then after a while, they never went away. I just got high and I still felt like that about myself. And I still felt bad and I still had these thoughts, these negative thoughts, and I still wanted to get out of it. But now I was just high. So it was, and that's what it was. That's why I was so bad in prison. It was like, so I still had all those thoughts and I was high and up for 5 days in prison. It's like the worst thing ever that could happen, you know? Like, and it's to the point where it's like, you can't even do any more drugs, dude. You've been up for 5 days. You can do more drugs, but you're just going to stay up and it's going to get even worse, dude. Like,
Wow.
you're going to get even more delusional and even more like dehydrated and just fucking go crazy. Like, so anyways, like I slept that one off and then, you know, like still kept dabbling or whatever and just working on the smuggle train, trying to figure out how to smuggle more stuff in there and doing it. And succeeding and then getting some of them caught, you know, you just have like, so have people drop stuff off and then like the prison guard said, like level 1 prisoners go out and they clean stuff up. So they would go out and they'd be cleaning stuff up and there'd be this package all ready to go and they would just take it and they would put it inside of them and they would take it into the prison. And then we would have it there on the 1 yard and then we would also disseminate it to the other yards too. And yeah, that's pretty much how it works.
You mentioned your gnarly fight in your first prison term.
Oh yeah. So I was there was some dude, and I don't even really know what the deal was. Like I think I bought, it was just like a cigarette deal or something for like whatever 5 suits or something. And I had paid the guy, and somebody else was saying that I still owed him money, but I didn't. And so the guy that had the keys to that yard, he was he had the keys. I don't know if he didn't like me or whatever, and he told somebody that he could have a one-on-one with me, so a fight, so he could fight with me because of some soup deal. It wasn't even like real. Like what would have happened is the guy would have been, if it would have worked out the way it was supposed to, the guy would have let the guy who was like in charge of where I lived, like, no, hey, I'm going to do one-on-one with this guy. And then he would talk to me and I'd be like, dude, it's like not even a deal. And then he would go talk to the shot caller and they'd like work it out. But that's not what happened. I was laying down and he like sucker punched me, which is like a no-no in terms of like inmates. He was just like thinking he could do something and he sucker punched me. And he broke my cheekbone right here. He broke this bone right here. There's like a bone that goes this way. And there's a bone that goes underneath your eye that's like a shelf. And then there's your zygomatic bone, which is like your cheekbone right here that you can feel. So he broke it, and I ended up having to get like 5 titanium plates and like 20 screws in there.
Holy shit, 20 screws.
God, yeah. Damn. But because I had 5 plates, because 4 on each corner. 4 screws on each corner.
Damn.
Like, so right there. And like screws into my bone too. Like there's screws into my bone. So yeah, he hit me and he broke my cheekbone. I'm like, whoa, what the fuck? Like, what's going on, dude? And like I had a shirt over my eyes and I was like getting sun or whatever. And he's like, yeah, like, fuck you, dude. And I was like, fuck me. Like, what, you think that's it? Like, let's go, dude. We're gonna fight. And I took this guy down into the thing and I fucking beat the brakes off him, dude, with a broken cheek, dude. I was pissed. And it was gnarly, dude. It was a gnarly, like I was, because he sucker punched me and I was pissed and my face is broken. And luckily he didn't land any after that, but if he did, he probably would have done even more damage. But that was heavy. That was a heavy.
God damn.
And then I got out, and then so I was gonna get out like 2 days later after that. And they went and took me in the hospital, and they shot me up with Demerol, dude, and it felt so good at the time. And they did that surgery or whatever, and then I ended up just like going in another extended run, and then I did something else, and I went to jail, and I was going to get another prison term, but they didn't make me do another prison term because they're like, oh, like he got in a fight and gave him Demerol, so they like kickstarted his addiction. So I just went to a rehab after that.
That fucking.
So I went to rehab. I did like 6 months. And then I was in downtown San Diego. Met up with these kids and this woman, and we were fucking selling meth in downtown San Diego. We were up on Bankers Hill in this house, and running all around down. Like I was going back and forth to Mexico, and we were like, I was still doing what I was doing at that time. Later, did that a few times, and then we were selling meth around downtown San Diego, and I was also doing other little theft jobs with this dude who was a heroin addict and like getting the heroin from him. So I was pretty heavy, like at that time when I'm talking about after that first prison term, before my second prison term, I was pretty heavily like using drugs like on a regular basis, like big time.
Your second term, when you said you had that thought at the reception where you're done, you're going to try to get clean and whatnot.
Yeah.
So was there a third and fourth term in prison thereafter? Was there relapses?
Yeah, no, that was it. So I was on that yard. I was strung out, and I forget what happened. What did happen right there? I had like a needle on me one time, and a guard like patted me down and didn't find anything because I like dealt with it, and then they patted me down another time like a couple days after that, and they found a ball of heroin. I had like a ball of heroin on me. And so they took me to
where would you hide? Where would you hide it where they didn't find like the needle and?
Yeah, like inside of you.
Oh, okay, gotcha.
Yeah. So you just wrap stuff up the right way, and like, yeah, that's like a good question. Like, how do you put a needle inside you? So you like wrap like, so here's the pointy end, and you just like put the cap on it, and you wrap it up real good so something will fall out.
Yeah.
And you put the pointy end in first, so when you pull it out, you're not poking. Like, you're pulling it like backwards.
Gotcha.
Nasty, right?
Well, I mean, you hear Hollywood will have certain stories like that, so I guess it's not too surprising.
It's where everything goes, and you'd be surprised in like how much and like what you can put in there. Yeah, there it is. It's crazy.
Was there? Oh, go ahead.
Yeah, it's just another part of that crazy lifestyle that like people who are not in prison go like, what is that? And like when you're in there, you're just like, it's just what we're doing, dude. This is like what it is. It's part of their life.
So what was the turning point for you, do you think? Or what was the turning point?
Yeah, so I got caught with that ball of heroin, and I went back to reception, and went back to reception, and I went to AdSeg. So
what's that?
I ended up going to AdSeg because they wanted to. So went to reception, and they were gonna like kind of do like a trial for me, like within the prison, like what happened, and then what happened? There was fights and stuff, and then I got taken to the SHU. So AdSeg.
What's AdSeg?
AdSeg is like administrative segregation. So like if you get into like fights and like if there's like a riot or whatever and you're part of it, or you get in trouble, you go to the AdSeg, and then AdSeg's where they have like a little trial for you, and then if they give you like if they say, oh, this guy's guilty of like doing something, then they send you to the SHU, which is a segregated housing unit, which is basically like, both of them are really like solitary confinement type deal. So you're in the cell all day. Yeah, so during that time, I'm in the cell all day for like 72 hours, and every 72 hours, they let you out for 1 hour into a little dog kennel. And you can work out. So you can work out in where these little dog kennels are. So Yeah, I got back there, dude. And so I got back there and I had drugs on me at the time. And I'm shooting kites out like, hey, who's all back here? You know, because the same, even though you're like segregated, same stuff's happening back there. And so I'm shooting kites out like, hey, who's in here? Like, what's up? And like everybody's like, kind of did a roll call and I got like, who's all back there? And so I sent drugs out to everybody and then I had mine. So these guys are just sitting in this ad seg all bummed out and I send them drugs so they're all stoked on me. But then I had mine. And like I'm getting these like kites from people like, oh, thanks Wood, and like all this prison politic language and stuff.
What's a kite?
And I was just super bummed. A kite. Oh yeah. So a kite is like a note.
Okay.
It's a note that you write and you send to somebody. And so you can't go outside your cell. So what you do is you take part of your sandal and you cut it off. So you have like this little disc and you connect string to it and you slide it under your cell to like another cell. And then they take it and then they slide it to another cell. And then so you can like talk to anybody within the whole module. So, yeah.
Gotcha.
So you like, so say I'm like right here, my door's right here and like 3 cells down, there's another white dude. And so through the fence, you can like talk to people too. And you're like, hey, I'm going to send you, or you can just yell and scream like, hey, this is coming whenever the guards aren't there. And you just slide it out there. And then they slide theirs out there and they pull it in. And then they pull that whole string in their cell. And in the middle of the string, you like tie your little note and then they get it. Or you tie a bag of drugs or whatever it is that you want to send to them.
Got it.
My screen saying that I'm good. Yeah, so I'm bummed out, dude. I'm like, dude, I'm in the shit. I'm in the ad seg. Like, I haven't been able to, like, I'm not going outside for a while. And so, whenever I went back there, it was November 1st, 2012. Wait, was it November 1st? Yeah. November 1st, 2012 was the day that I went to AdSeg and shot everybody everything. And oh wait, no, it was October 31st that I went there. And then I did that. And then November 1st, I had my drugs and I flushed them down the toilet. I was like, I'm never going to do drugs again. I'm never going to do anything again. I just want to be done with this. Like, this is like. And then I had a violent come down. Like, I had a violent withdrawal. Sick for like days. And so I was like, before I was there, I was like, why did I do that? I could have done that a different way. But yeah, that was the last time that I used any drugs or alcohol.
Wow.
October 31st, 2012.
Wow.
Yeah.
Just a random segue or tangent. 6 years ago, I was in a car accident. I was going through a green light. Other person's going through a yellow light, but they didn't yield their yellow turn. So it was kind of like they're turning and I'm going straight, and they turned right into me, like, so it's almost like a head-on collision. But it was about probably 35 miles per hour each way. So kind of like hitting a brick wall at 70 miles per hour, sort of.
Yeah.
Broke my ankle. Got 3 screws in my ankle now. And I was on OxyContin for 4 months, I think. And the withdrawals, I went cold turkey, but the withdrawals didn't really hit. I feel like, actually, well, now that I could reflect on it, that's interesting. The withdrawals lasted for up to like 7 months afterwards.
Yeah.
So 4 months of taking a lot of OxyContin for pain killing. But the withdrawals, cold turkey, still had withdrawals up to like 7 or 8 months. It felt like it was just depression.
It changes your brain structure, dude. We have natural opiates in our neurochemistry, and they're there for a reason, and they do help us. But whenever we put foreign opiates in there, we stop creating them. Like, our bodies are like, oh, well, we don't need to create this. Like, it's cool. Like, turn it off. Like, we're good. It's getting what it needs.
Yeah.
And then we don't take it anymore, and it's like, oh, I have to start doing this again, and it takes a long time for that regulation to get back. Yeah, it's gnarly. It hurts, right? You can't
Yeah.
sleep.
Mainly it was, I think the toughest part was the depression. Like I felt lonely. Um, I just felt depressed. Nothing made me happy.
Yeah.
It was shitty. It was shitty because I didn't, it was shitty because I also didn't know it at the time. I just thought it was me. Well, how to explain it? I thought it was just me being lonely. Then later, when I realized and I mentioned to some people, it felt like they didn't take me seriously, and that made me a little bit more angry.
And even more lonely, right?
Yeah, exactly.
Like
Yeah,
even more like lonely. Like no.
yeah.
Dude, did you ever have the train of thought? Did you ever have the train of thought where it's like, this sucks. I don't want to feel like this anymore. If I take another OxyContin, it'll go away.
Um, I would say way earlier in our conversation where I mentioned where I think I'm fortunate where I think addictive drugs or addictive behavior doesn't trigger my brain as much. So
Yeah.
meaning I think I'm lucky to have a low addictive uh, rating in my body. Meaning, so I was able to turn off or get off of OxyContin, but I didn't realize it was I just went cold turkey because I wanted to get back to normal, but I didn't really have reason other to get back to normal. And the back to normal, my train of thought was, I want to eventually maybe play racquetball again. I want to eventually be able to walk again and do normal things. So somehow I felt if I continued OxyContin, it was somehow prolonging
Yeah, getting back to normal.
yeah. So it was, to answer your question, I didn't have a desire to get back onto OxyContin. Um, I wonder if someone, this is a weird way to think about it. If someone 4 months in when I was still doing it and I felt depressed, I went cold turkey. 2 weeks later, if someone came to me and said, "Hey, you wouldn't feel so depressed if you had a little bit more OxyContin," I don't know what I would have done at that point. I don't know. Meaning,
That's kind of why I brought it up. That's why
yeah,
I brought it up, because it's like that's what happens whenever, because you were there, you were in that spot where like you were kind of susceptible,
yes,
and then a thing that happens is that people realize, or somebody tells them, or somehow it happens, they take it for whatever reason, and they realize like, oh wow, like I don't feel depressed right now. Like this is cool because that sucked. And so wait, all I have to do is take a little bit of this, and I don't feel depressed. Like there's my fucking answer. Bam. And
yeah.
so that's kind of like how it was. But it sounds like you didn't even really have that thought process of like, oh, if I do OxyContin right now, it'll feel better. I won't be depressed.
Yeah, I didn't know OxyContin was the root of the depression. I thought it was just me, oddly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it probably, I mean, I don't know how you got through it, but like 50-50, there's probably some stuff going on too. And then also that on top of it made it worse and magnified it. So,
Yeah. To No, well, with the broken ankle, I was at home a lot. I was able to get back to work eventually, but yeah, I would say the OxyContin was the only change. I think even mentally, meaning because I was at home a lot and able to go to work eventually. Like it didn't. I felt like there wasn't a change. Well, I guess my girlfriend at the time did end up breaking up with me around that time. Um, I don't know. I felt like oddly, I was actually kind of upset at her the way she broke up with me. Like it felt like she didn't communicate at all. Like usually a breakup, you like I feel like
you
both
get some
sides get.
closure.
What was that?
You get some closure.
Yeah, exactly. Where I said, hey, I think we have fun together. What's your problem? Like she never said anything. Like I
Yeah.
was like, what the fuck? This is kind of weird. Um, so that was probably the only thing that kind of just made me upset. But actually, that breakup was probably, it was easier for me maybe to break up that way because I had a reason to be upset at her, if that made sense.
Yeah,
Like,
for sure. It's like,
so
dude, fuck this chick anyways, dude. She's lame.
yeah,
She didn't even care about me enough to tell me what's up.
yeah,
Yeah,
exactly,
for sure.
yeah.
But yeah, that's even more powerful to show the power of like how addiction or just substances can induce depression. It's like, yeah,
Yeah,
not really was that much was going on. Like it's just that, and then it made me depressed. So yeah.
yeah. So with your withdrawals, did you still have more time in AdSec, or basically the solitary
Yeah. I
confinement?
was in AdTech. I was in AdTech for a while, and then they took me to trial for that. Okay, so I maxed out my term in there. So I did all of the amount of, so they had sentenced me to state penitentiary for a certain amount of time. And sometimes you get off like, sometimes you're able to do half time if you're on good behavior, or 80% or 85%. I think it's like half time that if you do like one thing.
I kind of forget if we talked about why. I think you did say why you went into AdSec to begin with. I think.
Yeah. So I went back on the yard and to the reception yard, and there was a riot, and so involved in that, and they're like, okay, you're already waiting to
Ah,
be like to have a hearing about like this, and then so now this, and like we're just gonna put you in that sec. So kind of like strike through,
okay,
you're out, go sit down.
gotcha. Okay.
So yeah, which is like, I say it like it's no big deal, but yeah, it's a huge deal. Like, we were there. I had some drugs, and there were some drugs on the yard, and the boys were getting high, and it was Halloween, and it was like, yeah, dude, let's fight in the yard, dude. It's like, okay, cool. And it's big gnarly fight in the yard,
Halloween fight.
Yeah, dude, and then everybody gets thrown in their cells, and they're, me and Aztec, because I was already in trouble or whatever, and yeah, so I'm back there, and then some people went to AdSec from that, and then they just went back to the yard or whatever after a little bit, and because I had other stuff going on, they're like, "Yeah, we'll just keep you here, buddy." And then I finished out my sentence, locked up, and then whenever I finished,
but locked up, and you were going through heavy withdrawals because you decided to cold turkey quit.
yeah,
Okay. How long were you going through? Well, how long you're going through withdrawals, and then until that next that you said where they're reevaluating the term.
yeah. So I mean, how long did I go through withdrawals? It was pretty heavy and intense. Like, I want to say 3-4 days. I was like down. I wasn't really doing much, dude. I mean, I went out and I worked out in the middle of it because you can only go out one every 72 hours. But I mean, after that, I was still going through withdrawals, but I was just like working. I was doing like 100 Navy SEAL burpees a day,
Damn.
and you're only eating like 1,500 to 2,000 calories. So, I mean, yeah, but I'm still going through it, and I'm still bummed out like the whole time. So, loss of sleep and everything, like for sure depression, which I had already been struggling with depression for like at this point, like we're talking about a decade, dude. So, at least a decade, more than that, more like 2 decades.
Damn.
So yeah, I mean, I was dealing with withdrawal, but I was also comfortable with that, and I knew that and what that felt like. So the real physical hard withdrawal, like 4 days, and then after that, the prolonged withdrawal. I mean, it might have took me 2 years, really, to be real. Like, I did so much drugs for so long, like it could have been.
Yeah.
Post-acute withdrawal syndrome takes years sometimes. So.
Okay. So then what will happen after? So are they reevaluating because you reached the maximum time?
Yeah. So no, I reached the maximum time, so they had to let me out of the state penitentiary, and they did, but they let me out by transporting me to the county jail that the penitentiary was in, which was El Centro County Jail. And the reason was because they were charging me with possession of a controlled substance inside of a state facility, which carries a term of 3 to 5 years. No, actually, I think it was like, 3 to 5 years is what they call it. But the low term was like 16 months the midterm was like about 3 years, and the high term was 5 years. And so I'm in county jail, and I ended up doing like 2 or 3 months in county jail too. And so I'm in county jail, and I'm sober. I had been sober since over, and so I'm in there, and I think I only did 2 months, like month and a half, something. Anyways, I'm in county jail, and they're taking me to court or whatever. They take me to court the first time, and they're like, "Oh, the DA wants to give you 5 years for having controlled substance," and I'm like, "No." And usually the way it works out is you go to court and they offer you the high term. You say yes or no. If you say yes, like you're stupid, but say yes or no, and then you go back and they offer you the midterm, and you say yes or no, and then you go back, and if you have like a good enough like case where the DA thinks it's like a 50-50 chance, or at least they'll offer you the low term. And you either sign for the low term or you go to trial and like not get it. So they offer me 5 years, like, oh, I'll just go through the whole thing and see if they get to the low term at least. And then so I go back the second time and they offer me the high term again. And I asked my lawyer, I'm like, why are they offering me the high term again for this? And I'm back here the second time. Like, why can't you like give me a better deal? I don't know, I'll figure it out. Go back to, and each time you go back, it's like a week or something, maybe 10 days, something like that. So I go back, and then I go back the third time, and they offer me the high term again. They don't offer me the midterm. I'm like, what's up, dude? And he's like, yeah, well, I mean, I think they want to get you because they kind of know that you were doing some stuff in there, and they couldn't get you for it, but they know it was you. And so I think they got it for you. And they're going to give you the high term, and they're going to take you to trial. And they have a lot of stuff to say about you. You know, they have a lot of stuff to say about how like they think you were smuggling drugs, and then because of that, like level 4 prisoners were like getting high on meth and like getting in fights and like stabbing each other and like having cell phones and like doing criminal activities, and you played a big part in it for like the time that you were here, and they want to get you for it. I'm like, fuck, okay. So I go back to my cell and I'm stressing, dude. I'm like, dude, I'm about to do 5 years, dude. Like I just did a long time, and I'm about to do 5 years. My kid's like 6 years old at the time. I'm like, I'm gonna get out, and I think when I went in he was 6. When I got out he was 8. I was like, I'm gonna get out, he's gonna be like 13, and like it's heavy, dude. Like so anyways, this is what happened. It's a trip, dude. So I remember working out one morning. I was telling you I was doing 100 Navy SEAL burpees a day. So I did 100 Navy SEAL burpees a day, and it was just turning light. And I could tell because I had this like window, and the window would be black in the day, and it'd be black at night and blue in the day. And it was just starting to turn from black to blue. So it was like just dawn. The 180 SEAL burpees, and I was like sweating, and I was like sitting there. And I was super bummed out. And I was super scared, dude. I was terrified. I was in a place where I was just like, dude, I came into this term and I made a promise to myself that I was going to not do this, and I was going to get out, and I was going to be a good person. I was going to be a good dad. And, and here I am, and now I'm about to do 5 years, and I didn't know what to do. And so I got down on my knees. I hadn't prayed in like 5 years. I just didn't know what else to do. I just broke down. I was just like, I can't do this. Like, I don't want to do this. Like, please get me out. And I was so super serious. I remember this like place that I was in. I mean, I remember the place. Like, I can remember everything about that cell that day. And I can remember like it getting light. And like right now, the hair on my neck is standing up. And I remember the physical place, and then I also remember the spiritual place, and I was just so sincere and so serious, and I was like, dude, if there's any way that I can get out of this situation, I will do everything that I can to turn my life around and to be a good dad, and I will give my life up, and I'll help other people get out of the cycle of addiction. I promise. And it was just serious, and it was super intense, and it was for a short amount of time, and I did it, and then it was done. And I went through my day, and then later that day, I got like a call, and it was like, "Hey, Ferris, like you're going to court tomorrow." And I was like, "Oh wait, no, it was that. Yeah, it was you're going to court today." It was like later, it was 10 a.m. It was like, "You're going to court today." And I was like, "Oh, okay, cool." I wasn't even scheduled to go to court. Didn't even know I was going to court. I went to court, and the judge was like, "Yeah, I'm setting your bail at like $25,000, $250,000, whatever it was." It's like, "All right, cool, whatever." And I went back to my cell, laid down, and then that night, "Hey, Ferris, roll your stuff up. You're getting out of here. You're leaving. You're bailed out." Got up out of my bed. I was like, "What? What are you talking about? Like, what's going on?" He's like, "Yeah, dude, you're bailed out." So I went through this thing, and I went through this series of like going and like signing some paperwork and going out, and like here I am like walking out of the jail, and the door opens up. And I fucking walk out, and I look around, and I'm like, "Are you kidding me right now? Like, what is it? What is?" I was just there by myself outside. I was just like, "What is going on?" And I just look up, and I was like, thought about the thing that happened in the morning, and I was like, "What is happening right now?" And right when I did that, this guy pulls up, and he's like, "Hey, dude, your dad bailed you out, and like, I'm gonna take you to his house right now. Like, you're William?" And I'm like, "Yeah, dude, cool, right on." And so like, I get in this guy's car, and he drives me from El Centro to Santee, and I get there, and I like give my mom and dad a hug, and I'm like, "Cool." And like, like my dad is he loves me, and he's like there for me, but like whenever I'm doing whatever I was doing, he kind of we went through a lot of stuff together in my addiction, and I didn't really I said, "What's going on, Dad? Like, what?" I asked him, I'm like, "Why did you at that time? Like, why did you bail me out? What was the reason?" And it didn't mean as much to me as it means now, but he said, "I wanted to see you before you spend the rest of your life in jail, or if I leave before you get out." Because he never visited me. Like, he wasn't going to visit me in jail or anything like that. So basically, he was telling me, like, "I wanted to see you one last time. I bailed you out so I could just see you and tell you I loved you and hug you."
Oh, shit.
And heavy, dude. And I was like, damn, like, okay. So anyways, like, I'm out. I'm out on bail, and I'm out for a couple of days at my mom and dad's house to hang out with them. And like, somebody calls me up. He's like, "Hey, dude, I heard you're out. We saw you like in town or something." I'm like, "Yeah, dude." Like, he's like, "Hey, you want some money? I need a car. I need like this specific car. Like, can you get it?" I was like, "Yeah, I need some money. Like, I'll do it." He's like, "Coming to my house tomorrow." I was like, "All right, cool." And so I'm out on bail to do a hearing for like 5 years, and like I go to sleep that night, but I don't really go to sleep. Like, I do go to sleep, but I'm like in this dream state where like I go back to that cell, that place in the cell, whatever place, spiritual, physical, and it's like I kept dreaming about it. And I just like don't even really know if I was awake thinking about it or asleep, like lucid dreaming about it or what. But I woke up in the morning and I was like, "Dude, I'm not going to that place to steal that car. Like, I'm gonna call my old PO." So I called my old PO and I was like, "Hey, dude, I need help. Like, I'm out on bail. I don't know what to do right now. My friends are calling me right now, wanting me to do stuff. I'm like, I don't know what to do. I need help." He's like, "All right, I want you to go down to the VOA on 16th Avenue, and I want you to fill out do like a questionnaire. Like, they pretty much find out if you're an addict or not. It's like a, I can't think of what it is right now, and I do it for work too, but whatever. But yeah, an evaluation. I do an evaluation, and so they evaluate me, and they're like, "Yeah, like you can go to treatment, but we don't have a bed right now, so just like call back." So that morning, instead of me going to my friend's house, I went to go like do an evaluation for treatment and like get into a treatment center. And then every day I called, and like 4 or 5 days later, they're like, "We got a bed for you." So I went to the VOA in San Diego on 8th Avenue, and I was there for like 30 days. And during the first 30 days, you're just like locked down. It's like blackout. You can't do anything. You just stay there the whole time, and you do groups and stuff. And then after my first 30 days, I went back to court, and they were like, hey, we're just going to postpone this whole trial because he's in rehab right now. And so we want him to finish that before he does this trial, before we do readiness for trial, and then we'll deal with it then. And so the judge was like, okay, cool. And the DA was like, okay, cool. I went back and I worked, and then there was a 90-day program, and I worked for 60 days and saved up money. So I would like take the bus from 8th Street to the trolley and take the trolley to Santee, and then I would go to work, and then I would take the trolley and the bus back, and then I would get back and I would like eat, and I would do a group, and I would go to sleep. And I did that Monday through Friday, and then Saturday I did groups all day to make up for the groups that I missed because I was working all week. And then Sunday I would like go hang out with my family or like a girl or something like that. And that was at 60 days. That's how I spent it. And I saved up enough money to get into a sober living. And then so at the end of the 60 days, I went back to court, and they were like, hey, he's like in a sober living right now, and we're just going to postpone this one more time for like 90 days. And so in between that 90 days, I went back and I got into school at UCSD for substance use disorder to be a counselor. And I started doing that. And so I went back to court, and they were like, hey, he's like doing this school right now. We're going to let him. So they just kept postponing and postponing it. And that went by for like a year. So like after a year when I was out, I went in there, and the DA walks up to me, and I thought we were going to do, I still at that point thought we were going to try one time. The DA walks up to me, and he looks at me, and like he never looked at me in the face before or said anything to me. Because he's the guy that prosecutes you. He's the guy that wants to put you in jail or prison. He looks at me, he's like, hey dude, I'm going to give you a shot, because if you don't really do what you say you're going to do, you're going to be back here anyways. You're just that kind of guy. And I was like, what the fuck was that all about? And then went up and they called my name. The judge was like, this case is dismissed in the interest of justice has been served, and just bangs the gavel.
Wow.
Sick, and I walk out. Never been back in a courtroom since then.
Wow.
I'm about to go back in a courtroom hopefully next year, because I'm going to get pardoned by the governor so I can get a be a licensed clinical social worker whenever I get into my master's program.
Wow. So, congratulations on staying clean and doing everything you're doing and trying to help out people. That's freaking awesome.
It's been tough, dude. But it's been tough because there's been like a lot of opportunities to do other stuff, like make money and stuff. And every time I get those opportunities, I just have like a little check-in with myself. And what actually happens is I go back to that place in that cell and that promise that I made, and what happened and how I got out of there. And it was like, no, dude, you said you were going to do something and you gave up. You said this is what you're going to do, and you got out, and you got to do it.
Yeah.
And so I'm doing it, man. I'm a counselor. I've been working for a counselor for like whatever it is, 6 years, 7 years, and going to school for psychology and then go to a master's program. So
that segment when you talked about your dad. So I remember, I haven't seen your dad since I was freaking 10 years old, maybe. So
yeah,
20.
A little bit after, but yeah.
What was that?
I said, yeah, it's been a while.
Yeah. So when you were telling that story, I'm imagining, because I remember going to your place, eating your guys' food, when playing as little kids, playing in the playroom. I remember times even walking down to your place. I think you guys weren't there. Like once in a while, you guys weren't there. So then I walked back up, and one of the friends, like whether it be Kevin or Graham, they're like, "Oh yeah, Billy, Jesse, and Jimmy, they went camping with their parents." I was like, "Oh, okay, that must be nice." So kind of, my so as you're telling that story, I have this picture of your dad. I remember him being pretty skinny. I remember, I would actually say between you and Jesse, I think your guys' face looked more like your dad. I feel like Jimmy did.
Yeah.
He looked more like maybe your mom. So
for sure, he took up my mom's side of the looks more.
Yeah. So as you're telling that story, I see your dad's face, like telling you, like, "Hey, I want to see you again. Before I die or before you go back in forever." Like, yeah. I was actually kind of tearing up a tiny bit. It's a powerful moment, especially knowing or for me to have a connection with your parents. That's crazy. Oh
Yeah, it's
man.
cool. It's heavy, dude. And then it's heavy now for me too, because like my dad has cancer. He's had cancer for the past few years, and like
Oh,
I don't know how long he's gonna live. But it's been cool to like know like he has cancer and he's going through the process of like that and leaving this world with that. And so to be able to spend times with him where it's like I want to make sure I say everything that I say to you and that you know how I feel about you and vice versa for him for me. That's huge. That's such a blessing because I've worked with a lot of people who have lost people, and we were talking about our friend earlier. I've lost people where you don't really
yeah.
have that like last closure
No.
type thing, and
Yep.
and so to be able to do that and have a relationship with him, um, yeah, my relationship in this past 9 years with my dad has been, dude, it's that was one of the things, man. My dad loved me and he did a lot for me, and like I just couldn't pull it together. I was an addict, and
Yeah.
to be able to pull it together and turn it around and have him see it, like all my family really, and my friends, everybody really, but yeah, him specifically, and just everything that's going on with that has been really cool, dude.
Yeah. The our friend that passed away. Did you go to the hospital? When
I did.
yeah. I remember stopping by. I want to. It's so long ago. I kind of don't remember. I want to say I saw him through the door window. But at the time, the hospital wasn't letting people in the rooms for whatever reason,
Yeah,
and so I waited a while, and it didn't. I didn't get a chance to come in and say anything. So
I went in here and I saw him, and like he wasn't there, dude. Like, and I was like bummed. I was like,
yeah.
he's gone, dude. Like,
Yeah. I could see that through the window. I remember looking
yeah,
in, and he looked out of it like
I could feel
oddly.
it, you know. I
What
could
was
feel
that?
it. I've been in rooms where people are like sleeping and like, and you know, like you can feel their energy, whatever. I went in there with him and like I looked at him and I was like, and I could feel like he's not here, dude. Like
Yeah,
it's not him. Either
yeah.
he'll never be the same or he's gonna die. Like I knew it as soon as I saw him, and I was so bummed out.
That's crazy. It's
Yeah,
crazy that me and you. It's interesting how we were so close um, in that timeline, but yet just slightly off. You
yeah,
know,
yeah,
slightly
yeah,
different times, I guess. Or
yeah.
that's crazy. Um, yeah, he did he he would say to me sometimes. He's like if I came to hang out with him, he's like, "Hey, give me a few minutes. I'm gonna go shoot up, and I don't want you to see me like this."
Yeah.
And it was. I mean, things to reflect on now. Things. I don't know. As a kid, how do you deal with that? I mean, the only thing you take with you is the memories of the good memories that you guys had together. I don't think there was really any bad memories actually with him. As my time with him, there was no bad memories really. We actually did a band. We were actually in a band together. Did you know
I
about that?
remember, I remember that. Yeah, you guys. It was like a kind of like a punk rock
Yeah. Punk rock.
stuff.
Yeah,
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 I
yeah,
remember that.
yeah.
Yeah, we actually played music together too. That's one
Oh,
of the things that we would do is like because I was always playing the guitar and singing, and we would always jam out together.
yeah. That's awesome. Yeah, I don't know if you want to hear my. I feel like my story is super lame compared to yours. Like you're going through jail and having all those crazy stories. Like earlier, you were talking about how you thought this would be a 50-50 talk. I figure I'll just tell you a little bit of my life just so that you feel that it wasn't all about you.
Yeah, for sure. I would love
I mean,
to.
I actually
Yeah.
don't mind most of these conversations. It's almost 90%, 10%. I think so. 10%, 90% them talking, 10% me talking, which I'm totally fine with because, um, especially on the camera, like as I do more and more of this, if I talk 10% or 20% of the time, after like you're like the 20th or 21st interview or conversation, so if I get like 15 minutes or an hour per, so that's an hour times 20. So I got 20 hours of talking. So that's why I kind of feel like I don't really need to talk that much. But
Yeah, that makes sense.
yeah.
But still,
Um,
though, like, I'd love to hear.
so I went to computer college. I hit that heavy. Well, actually, okay. So my moment, actually, this is a minor moment. What people would probably feel, I don't know. To me, it was a powerful moment. After high school, I spent 6 months like not doing anything. I jumped around like a pizza job and then Macy's. And then one day my mom's boyfriend at that time, I really respected this guy. Just he was always nice to me. He actually I don't think he knows how much he made my 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 life between the age of 16 and 19 better. Because my mom, she was yelling at me all the time because I was a rebel. I was always getting in trouble. So my mom only knew how to yell at me. So luckily he came into the story and he's like, "Hey, maybe you should get off the Liem's back. Like he's actually doing okay on grades. It's not straight A's, but it's nowhere near F's or D's. He's getting C's and B's. So just get off his back." I think at one point I was thinking I was getting mostly A's. I think. And then so he asked her to say, "Hey, get off his back," and it kind of pissed her off. Like she was kind of like, "Why are you on his side? He's always getting into trouble at school." And so something happened where my mom flipped, and she
Who are you to tell me what to do?
I think she did say that to him, but what happened afterwards? She just laid off. Like she got off my back completely. It was weird. Like I went literally like 180 degrees. Like one day she was on my back all the time, and then the next day she was like hands off. And it was this freedom at the age of I think 15 or 16. I just had this freedom. It was weird.
Dude, what a blessing to have from somebody. Like
Yeah.
it was initiated by him. So yeah, I can tell why whenever you say like he's a big influence on my life. That's
Yeah. So at the age of 18, when I was not doing anything in my life after graduation, one day he just came up to me. He calmly, he wasn't trying to put judgment on me or nothing. He just said to me calmly, he's like, "Hey, Liem, what are you doing with your life?" And I was like, "Huh? What do you mean? I'm 18. I don't know." He's you've been kind of for 6 months. You're not doing anything. What are you doing with your life? And he had no judgment in his voice. It was super calm. He was just asking it, but something in me hit something. I was like, wow, this guy I respect. He's saying something, and there's something else that he's saying, but he's not saying it.
something beneath it. Yeah, it's
Yeah,
deeper
yeah.
than just what he's saying. Yeah.
And actually, that day it hit me heavily, which is I don't know. I don't know how to explain it. It hit me like I got depressed for that day, and when I get depressed, I sleep. I just go to sleep. Like I remember sleeping for 14 hours. I already slept in 8 hours that day.
Yeah.
I went to sleep for 14 hours afterwards because this is someone that I respected, somebody that had a positive influence on my life, someone that came into my life that kind of showed me like maybe a certain sense of a stability. I had other stability with my uncles and my uncle and aunt, but I don't know what it was. It was just slightly different. So
It sounds like he like drastically improved the quality of your life by talking to your mom and being like, "Hey, like I know that you love your son. Let's try to love him in a different way." And it was a
yeah,
way that like made your life rad instead of
yeah,
what it was, whatever that was like having your mom yelling.
yeah, exactly. So right after that, after where I slept for 14 hours, I wasn't upset at him. I was actually disappointed in myself. I was like, "Fuck, why
What
am I
am I
not?"
doing with my life?
Exactly, exactly. So right after that, I went signed up for college. Freaking, I went 110% in college. I know
Yeah.
I don't know how to explain it. Like, I was probably 18 years, because I graduated college at like 17, I think, because I think I was born in August, so then that puts me in school at the beginning of the system, if that makes sense. So I was a little bit young. I
Yeah.
mean, I'm only 6 to 10 months younger than most. I think people that get graduate or something. I don't know. I don't know how that number figures out. But so I went to sign up for college, and I freaking went heavy, man. Like if I had I signed up to the 40-hour a week course.
Oh, heavy.
Yeah. So I was in a classroom 40 hours a week. And then I
Wow.
signed up for a volunteer. It was a work study program. So that was 12 hours a week. And then that school required like, they said for every hour of class, you should have about 30 minutes of homework. So 4 hours of homework plus 8 hours, and then maybe about 2 to 4 hours of work. So um, even after even that, any free time I did, I was still learning computers. So I mean, I was like hitting the books, and then I was like on my own side projects. I was learning how to network computers, how to all sorts of stuff with computers. So
Yeah, so you're just all in, dude.
yeah,
So that
I
was
went
your
all
life.
yeah,
Yeah.
I went all in, and that's the reason why I didn't keep in touch with our friend during that time where I didn't know. I got, I think it was, I want to say like 2 years after. So I got enrolled in college. I finished my certificate, got a job at IBM, um, and then I get a text message. I'm like, I feel like I'm like doing good in my life, you know. And then I get a
Yeah.
text message that says our friend's in the hospital. It's not looking good, and I'm like, oh, what the? Like I haven't seen him in like, I want to say maybe, I don't know if I have I didn't see him for like 2 years at that point.
Yeah.
So I get the text message. I'm like, oh shit, this is like, I feel like I'm trying to progress with my life, and then when I saw the text message, I'm like, oh man, he's not progressing with his life. It's like getting worse. So it was just a mental thing that like I didn't. Thinking back, I wish I would have been. I wish I would have spoken to his mom a little bit more. I don't want to say the name just since we're recording, but
Yeah.
just to say, you know, I don't know, just to talk to her. That's all. Me and her did text and email years later. Even through the email, I want to say it was 5 years after him passing. I could, I don't, I mean, I don't, I could feel her emotions through the email.
Mhm.
Um, yeah, it was unfortunate for. I wish I would have been able to talk to him a little bit prior to him passing away, but
Yeah. No, I hear what you're saying, and like what you're talking about right now is like it's a form of trauma, dude. Whenever we have somebody that we love and they leave, and then we're left with like, oh, like I wish I would have done this, or I wish I could do this, and wish I could do this, and like it's happened to me for him, and then a lot of other times too, because now I'm a counselor, and so I work with drug addicts all the time, and like you can imagine how many of them have overdosed and died, especially lately. Like fentanyl in our country is killing a lot of people, dude. Like it's not just like a little bit; it's like 80,000 overdose from March 2019 to like March 2020. That's a lot, dude. That's more than it's ever happened in history ever anywhere.
yeah,
So, and like this trauma that like you carry and that I carry, like, yeah, I go through it too. And it's like, what can we do about it? And
yeah,
so, yeah, it's like, what can we do about it? And we can show up for each other for sure. I'm definitely going to do everything I can about it because that's just like what my life is like, helping people get out of the cycle of addiction. And so that's led me down a path. I can tell you more about that if you want to, but yeah, it's tough, man. Losing people from drug addiction is, especially when they're like good people, dude. And
yeah.
most people are good people. And I
Yeah,
believe people are good people. Like people have good intentions and just things happen that makes them do what they do. And
I could see like I could hear his laugh. I could see his smile. That phase in our lives, a lot of people were kind of shaving their heads. That was the
yeah,
style.
you got to shave that for sure all the
Yeah,
time.
yeah. Um, uh, so after I got the job at IBM, I just continued working in IT and just pushed hard. Now
Sick.
it was, I've done good for myself. I have a great career. I've The interesting thing for me is to kind of go through the corporate world and see where certain things aren't as certain. So this is my opinion, and maybe I could be wrong on how I perceive it, but certain things in corporate America, how if you're a short person or a non-white person, where certain promotions and certain what's the word I'm looking for? Certain things that that are available to you through promotions. I felt like there were certain times where I was working so hard and I really learned. I feel like I learned my craft pretty well. That other people that looked older or that were taller or looked the part or whatever, they were getting promotions when I didn't. And I probably spent 10 years not understanding why. I didn't know what it for 10 years. I just worked and worked and worked. And I was like, why is that guy getting a promotion? Why is that person getting this? Why is that person getting that? I'm like, what the fuck? So then I started like kind of trying to figure out the game of life, the game of corporate politics, and the game of people's subconscious, where they may look at me and uh, um, where literally like on my resume it says someone that has 15 years in IT working experience. I walk in to an interview with this company and I walk in with a suit and they see a short guy walk in and they're like their smiles go to a frown. They're like, what, did some high school kid just walk in the room?
Yeah.
And I'm like, dude, how could you? We had a phone conversation. You heard me on the phone. This is the same voice talking right now. Can you not connect the two? Like, you were wowed during the phone conversation. You heard my technical experiences, but now you hear this voice but see a different body than what you expected. And I didn't get that. I didn't get that job. It's just things like that. I've seen it too many times where I start trying to connect the thoughts and the dots, and I feel like that's the commonality.
Dude, what you're talking about right now, if I can jump in for a
Yeah,
second,
totally.
I mean, basically, like, you're talking about systemic racism, dude, and about how we treat people differently based on how they look.
Yeah.
And I think that you bringing it up right now is really cool because now we can talk about it because it's a thing. And I think that right now, like, people are becoming more and more aware of it. There's been a lot of stuff that's happened last year, and I don't want to get into politics too much, but
Yeah.
I think that not only our country but the world is like starting to look at like, hey, we've got this thing that's, I don't know if it's innate within us or if it's just something that happened that we've been carrying along for a long time, and it doesn't serve us anymore, and we got to figure out how to get rid of it. And so what you're
Yeah.
talking about is like, yeah, it's a bummer for sure, and it's been a bummer for a long time, but I am super hopeful that like this is starting to be a conversation and massive amounts of people are becoming aware of this, and it just gives me hope that we're going to have a solution for this like sooner than later. Because you're right, it just happens all the time, and it's sex too. It's not just
Yes.
height and race; it's everything, and it's like people need to be treated the same. There needs to be social equality,
Yeah.
and there needs to be like we need to figure out how to get that done. I think that conversation is like needs to gain some traction.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah.
okay, how do we get that done? What's that going to be like?
I would say fortunately, as an Asian, I think Asian people have a stereotype of pharmacists or at worst like a nail salon, but then pharmacists is quite a bit in doctors and IT people. There's a lot of Asians in that. So I would
Nurses, I
say,
heard a lot of nurses too. There's a
yeah,
stereotype for
yep.
Asian nurses, I think.
So I would say out of the racism, I'm very fortunate that it's not. I'm like when I see the stuff with black people, the issues that you see in the news, like I think I feel like it's 10 times worse than what I've been through, or maybe even more. So
Yeah, because that stereotype is like criminal, like gonna hurt me, gotta protect myself.
yeah,
Maybe they're violent, that's
yeah,
like dangerous stuff.
yeah, exactly, yeah. So at least my bad or my perspective on how my life is, yes, I'm very fortunate to have the life that I have, and I appreciate it. But I do see the
Hmm.
inequalities. So I'm not. I guess I'm not. I'm not saying all of America is bad and all of the world's bad. There's just some bad things here and there, and I agree with you. From I can't say the word systemic racism, but even just equality on all things from men and women, or just maybe even treating kids a little bit better, treating well, sometimes kids need to be disciplined, but just
How though? How do we discipline them? Do we tell them that they're doing something wrong, or do we love them and show them what the right thing is, and then let them make? I don't know.
Yeah. I think there just needs to be a more emphasis on empathy while we discipline all things and make things better. Just empathy. I think empathy is it.
For sure, I hear that. Whenever you say empathy, it's like I think what it boils down to is like what we're here to do is and just the whole big picture of everything is like we're here to just love people and be loved. Like that's it. It's as simple as that. It can get complicated, like, oh yeah, but like my path is like help people get their addiction, and so that's just drawn me to like led me to where I'm at right now, and your path is to do what you do, but overall love people and be loved. And it's like, how do we do that? Like what's the best way? And that's what you're talking about, empathy. Empathy is like, feeling one's experience, like love, like putting yourself in somebody's place and recognizing who they are, and like setting things up to where like, oh, if I was there, like this is what I would want to happen, so like let's make that happen for them too.
So, I think textbook definition be sympathy technically, but anyways. So I think empathy is when you have been through it, and then sympathy is to feel for someone when you haven't been through it. If I remember the definition of it.
You're right. Empathy.
Empathy. So we need to have more sympathy, but empathy when available, sympathy when not available.
But here, check this out, because you're absolutely right with empathy. But as humans, we all experience the same emotions. We all experience the same desires. We all experience the same base things. So if I desire to like be respected and loved, and so do you, but it's just in a different way, I can still empathize with where you're coming out emotionally. I can still empathize that you want to be treated well, and I do too. So we can use, I think that needs to be part of it too, where it's like, yeah, it's like not the same experience, but it's like you're a person, and I'm a person, and all your emotions, like even if they're manifesting themselves in a different way, are the same as mine, and so like they're valid because it's the same thing I have and you have, so I think that's like important to like recognize and know and like talk about and understand about ourselves. It's like we're all doing the same thing, we're just doing it in different ways, and like why can't we just support and love each other and doing that instead of fight? We have this like tribalistic energy that like makes us want to fight and like destroy each other, and it doesn't serve us anymore, dude. Like we don't have to do that to survive. Like we've evolved, so look at how much we've evolved in the last 100 years. And like we just need to keep it going. We need to like keep pushing towards like stuff like you're talking about, like it's time to let go a lot of old stuff that doesn't serve us anymore.
That's a little bit what I kind of feel like with this platform, to be able to talk to people about their careers, their professions, their passions, their life, and then try to understand them more, and they could share their message to all the people. So I think for you, when you talk about your drug addiction, I think it could hopefully shed light to people that do have addictions, and maybe for them to try, maybe this gives them some information on how they should deal with it, which everybody's going to be different, but however, if they listen to this and this helps them, that's exactly what I'm going for.
I can, you know what, if I'm going to say to talk directly to anybody who's an addict and alcoholic, the thing that I would say is there's so much shame and guilt in being an addict and alcoholic, and there's so much judgment by other people. And the reality of what it is to be an addict and alcoholic is that like sometimes you're in a place where you just don't have any options. Like that's the only option that you have today, is to do that. And there's hope, and there is a way out. And I don't know what the way out is for everybody, because everybody's different. But I want to tell you, like, I'm speaking directly to somebody, don't give up hope. Like life is rad, and like people love you, and like you can be loved, and like you're important and you're special. And like don't give up hope, and like do everything that you can do for yourself to take care of yourself, to get to where you want to be so you can be who you want to be the most. That's like the most general thing I can say.
Yeah. Yeah.
Because, you know, everybody's got their own specific ways they need to get sober, or they want to get sober, or who they want to be, and it gets different. But to be general about it, it's like, there's a way out, dude. That's the most important thing to remember, is like, there's a way out. You just have to pursue it. You just have to go for it. You have to go after that and want it.
Yeah.
And the only thing you can control in this world that we're in is yourself. Everything that's going on around us and all these people that are doing all this stuff and all these things, like, yeah, they're happening and you can have some influence, but you can't control anything but yourself. What you say, what you think, what you do. And why not be a master of that? Why not figure out how to do that the best you can? Because then you might be able to influence other people in a greater way.
A little bit of a tangent thought when you when we were talking about me feeling the inequality in the workplace, and then so in what year was it? 2010, 2009. Something, it was chewing at me every day. Just kind of go to work, see other people get promotions, other people get better pay, and something was chewing at me, and it was the feeling of this rat race I wasn't happy with this rat race that I was in. So I in a short sentence or two, I basically just threw everything away, and I flew to Sydney, Australia, and spent 4 months in Sydney, Australia, 6 months in Vietnam, and then I went to visit my dad in Texas for 4 months, and then at that point I had like, I think I had $400, $300 to my name. I had nothing. I didn't have a car. I didn't have. I'm trying to remember if I had a cell phone at that time. I think I had a cell phone. So I had a cell phone and $300 or $400. I was just sick of the rat race, and I think that's a powerful thing for people to just think about in their lives. If they're not happy, I don't suggest doing what I did. I fucked up my credit. When I went to Australia, I fucked up my credit. I fucked up my car loans. It wasn't a smart move, but it did teach me something about money. It taught me how to take care of money. It taught me to appreciate money a little bit differently. Now, money's not everything though. Money, that was something where it made me also realize, don't go buy shit just to buy shit. There was something in me where buying things would make me happy. So even if it's putting on a credit card, it was like I had this need to buy something. It was as if like I was making up for my childhood. Like my mom didn't have a whole lot of money growing up, so to make up for my childhood was me and my 23 years old, 25 years old, just go buy something, and it was just stupid. Yeah. So about 2009, 2010, I did that. 2013 was the year where it kind of all turned around. I kind of played the system. I sort of lied on how much money I made at my last IT job, and I went to interview and I told them how much I wanted. They tried to ask how much was I making. I was like, no, I want this price. And I was able to kind of through, it was, what's the word I want to say? It was
subtle manipulation, inside information.
Yeah, inside. Yeah. So, okay. So that year I was able to get a pretty big pay bump. And then 2 years later, when I went for 1 or 2 years, I was able to get even a bigger promotion through that insider information.
Sweet.
Yeah. So my how to save money and living off of, when I was super broke back then, carrying that knowledge forward. So I was able to start throwing money into 401k, into cryptocurrency investments and stuff.
But do you think that time you said I wouldn't suggest this to other people, but do you think that time where you were just like, dude, fuck this, I'm out, like, even though like it put you in like a hole, don't you think that it was like super important for you to shape who you were and that you like actually needed it?
Yes.
Because it's crazy, dude. Like sometimes like the world and everybody will be telling us what to do, and we just have to listen to ourselves, even though it goes against everything that we're supposed to do.
Yes.
And we get and it's in a weird way, like, and it might not be ideal because, like, yeah, don't like mess up your credit and all this, but it's exactly what you needed, dude.
Yeah. To answer that, totally yes, because
so rad. I love those stories.
Because of that journey, now the way I look at money and how I want to live my life, like I almost have a rule where I hear other financial advisors say this, but try to save up where you could have like 1 or 2 years worth of living expenses. So what that does is, now that if I were to lose my job, I'm not all stressed out looking for a job. If I were, it also caused me to live my life a certain way where I'm not going to go get a loan for an expensive car so that I could have a $700, $800 monthly payment on a car. Like, to me, that's not what I want. That's not happiness. That's a prison to me. So the last 2 cars I bought,
it's a trap.
Exactly. The last 2 cars I bought was cash. I just got the cash and handed it to them, basically. It's made the way I live my life is so much less stressful because of it. I wish I could explain that better, but I think people, like you're saying, people need to go through that journey to feel it. If you don't feel it, then you're just living a life, and it's not sustainable. You have to feel it so you could sustain it. Oh man, we ate up a lot of time. We ate up a lot of time. I
delayed.
What was that?
Yeah.
So I don't have an exact deadline
Go
to
ahead.
get off the call, but I mean, out of respects to we probably need to get food and drinks and bathrooms. So anyways, I'll try to hurry this up. We got 6 final questions that I ask everyone, and then we'll see how fast we can go through that, and then if we got time after, we'll chit chat about anything else that comes to mind. What daily habits do you have that greatly improve your life?
Oh, geez, that's a tough one. So one thing that's really saved me has been surfing. I surf, and it really is a lifestyle for me, and it pushes me to stay in shape and stay young. And along with that, now that I'm older, I'm 38 years old. I just turned 38. I took up yoga, and I took up yoga for a couple different reasons. One is because I've been surfing like bigger and bigger waves, and I need to hold my breath. Yoga is a lot about breath work, and then also I'm getting older, and I want to be like as agile and flexible as I was before. And yoga is a really good exercise routine that keeps you like stretched out and limber. And through doing it for that reason, I've realized that there's so much benefit to doing yoga. Like, not just when you think about yoga, you think about practice, but it's also like a way of life and a way of thinking and a way of letting things go and letting things be how they are and accepting it and being in the flow of life. And it's just been so beautiful to me. So beautiful. So I would definitely say surfing and yoga, like, hands down. Those things have improved my quality of life.
Awesome. Awesome. Next question. What do you know or think of cryptocurrency?
I don't know much, but I should. I'm old school. I'm like, dude, if I'm going to invest in anything, I'm going to invest in gold. Because what happens if the internet goes down and like we can't get this, like what happens? Like if there's just nuclear war and all the servers are out, I still need gold. But I would say that I would be interested in investing it. But if I did have a lot of money to invest, I still got to say I'd go for gold.
Awesome. I'm a huge cryptocurrency fan. The shirt I'm wearing is about decentralization. But if you want to learn about cryptocurrency, message me or call me and we could talk it out. I usually talk about it quite a bit in each of my talks. So I don't know.
One thing that
Go ahead.
One thing that I have heard and that I do like is just like gold, it's like universal. It's not just from one country. It's like anybody in the whole world can use it and it's valid. And I like that. That's cool because it's like it takes the government out of it. And so
Yeah, exactly.
I like it for that reason.
Yep. I love it for so many reasons. And that's one of them. Okay. What's the biggest national and or global problem? What should humans do to fix it?
Ooh, geez, what's the biggest right now? It's COVID, bro. For me, like it might not be the biggest, but for me, it's the biggest, and it's substance use disorder, just like drug addiction. And really, I think the fix for that is the same fix that could help a lot of other stuff that people on here probably say, and it's we need a coming together, dude. Like we need a coming together of everybody really, and of finding common ground and stop fighting and stop being so tribalistic. Like we need to figure out how to like weed it out, you know, like we've been doing it for so long, and I realize that it's entrenched in our DNAs and just who we are and like what we are, but like it's everything would be so much easier on so many different levels if people just start loving and not fighting and be accepting of more things and like yeah, finding common ground. So I mean, I know that that's super general, but to get over on substance use disorder, because I said that too, what I specifically think we need right now for that to help solve it is we need more research. And that's why I decided to go back to school so I could go ahead and research what is effect, because I'm going to open a drug treatment center, and I felt obligated to learn how to do research. So through me opening it and through treating clients and treating patients, I can do research to find out what's most effective. Because right now I think the efficacy of drug treatment is horrible. It's a laughing matter if you want to talk about like other medical issues and what they are. And like if it's about 10%, and if any treatment was 10%, like we wouldn't even use it. And so we got to put forth some more energy in the scientific community to be like, what actually works, and like let's figure it out, and like let's do that. So I'm all in on that, and I'm going to do that, and I'm going to spend my life's work helping people and then also participating in that research so we can go ahead and figure out how to do it well instead of just doing it.
Yeah. It's good that you passionately feel about it and you're going to do it. I think sometimes I feel like if I feel like the people to work together, it feels like that's the biggest problem now. I don't know what to do like there's no way to be passionate and help it. I don't know. I don't know the answer to that. And anyways, that's just some thoughts.
Thoughtfulness, being in the present moment, what you're doing right now in this thing, you know, people working together, just whenever you're with people, and me, not you, me, whenever I'm with people and I talk to people and I communicate with them and I just put myself in the present moment and like take the energy to listen to them and be there with them and be a human with another human, like I think that's super important.
Yeah.
I think that if I can do that more times than not, then like that's love, dude. And like love transcends death. Like we know that because we know people who have died and we've had love and they still live within us and we're able to love other people because of it. And so I think that what you're doing here is pretty cool because that's what we're doing. We're here in the present moment talking and want to know what people are doing. And I think it's rad. So
awesome. Thank you. Next question. Got only 2 questions left. Think of one person that you actually I'm going to change the wording on this. Think of 2 people you know personally that should do this talk. Call them out.
2 people. 2 people that I know that should do this talk. That's a tough one, man. I don't know. Both my brothers. Because you know them too, and they could be cool, you know, they both have stories and
awesome. Okay.
Cool. But I also know some people who've had some really rough lives, dude, that are so positive. Lloyd, I think Lloyd needs to get on here and share his story.
Okay.
I went to a rehab with him one time. There was 60 of us in here and in there together, and like me and him are the only ones that are still that are living sober now. So
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. And then last question. Tell me in a few sentences or less about this conversation, what it was like. If you already done a podcast or interview before, describe the biggest difference. I may use this in a video collage for new potential guests.
yeah, this podcast was really cool. It was really cool to just be on a personal level and tell my story and just talk to you too. Because whenever I reached out to you and when we set this up, I was just like, oh, hey, that's Liam. Like, hey, what's up, bro? And then so that we were able to do this and it was cool, man. And I was able to share some stuff I'm passionate about and learn your story and learn what you're passionate about. And that's what it's all about, dude. Just people being together and like just sharing and stuff. And so I think it's cool. This was a good experience. I didn't really have any like thoughts on like what it was going to be because you kind of were like, oh, it's just going to be cool, dude. Like we're just going to talk. So it kind of like put me at ease about it. And then I was just like, oh yeah, I'll just tell my story and talk to Liam, dude. I know Liam. So,
Awesome.
So yeah, it was cool.
Cool. Thank you.
Next time we can just talk about all my work that I've done so far with the work I have done with working in substance use disorder treatment in treatment centers and sober livings, working with people one-on-one individually, working with people in groups, and then kind of why I decided to go back to school and what my plan for the future in this field is too. That would be cool to have a little part two.
All right, Billy, because I called you Billy when we were younger, and that's how I'm going to call you now. Thanks for being on the show, Billy. It was an awesome story, and I think we should do a part two.
Yeah, definitely, man. We constantly, we grow older and we recreate ourselves. So I'm sure some time will go by and we'll have some pretty cool stuff to talk about. So I'll be looking forward to it. Thanks for having me.
All right, no problem, man. See you
later.